Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Singles Supercars competition. The competition's been on a little bit of a hiatus for a number of months now, with the Enduro Cup taking pride of place over the last 2 months or so. But we're out of the Enduros and we're back into the main game with 2 rounds to go. It's the annual trip across the ditch, off to the North Island of the great country of New Zealand, and at Pukekohe Park Raceway for a pair of 35 lap races tonight. And it's getting interesting in the championship. Not only is it time for the Kiwis to shine at their home circuit, and they're out there in numbers tonight. There's 9 of them, if my memory serves me correctly. That's right, 9, when there's normally 6 in the main game field, which we'll talk a little bit more in a few moments' time. But it's also match point number 1 for Luke Rosella. The current series leader has a margin and could wrap up the title tonight. It's also a change in the commentary box for the 3rd time this year. Alongside myself, Steve DeVries, it's the incomparable Lewis Wetting for his first stint in a main game Supercars commentary this year. G'day, Lewis. How's it all going?
It's been going, well, could have actually been a little bit better in personal life, but outside of a couple of things, it's been not too bad, and it's good to be back on a Supercars broadcast. It's been quite a while, both in the commentary box, but also, as you said, with the Supercars Championship. It's been a long, long time since our previous round at Sydney Motorsport Park.
Yeah, Sydney, if I'm actually just having a look in the calendar and that now, just to see how far back it was. Sydney was all the way back on the 13th of August, and here we are nearly 3 months later after a big gap in the mid-season. It's almost like the Formula One mid-season break, or summer break, so to speak. I guess we called it the spring break for the Supercars fraternity. We had the Enduro Cup, got that out of the way with Bathurst, Sandown, and the Gold Coast events, and now we're back into the singles competition. So a lot of these drivers would have found themselves pairing up with a number of their counterparts in the Enduro Cup. Actually, I think most of them that are here tonight, except for a couple of wildcards, actually paired up and had some pretty successful and some pretty good campaigns, I think, as well. I think we saw a lot of really hard-fought racing over the course of the Enduro Cup, and it's carried over into a lot of the other series. I think a few people have realised that some of the performances that they've put in, they've actually been able to replicate those in a lot of the other series at the moment.
Yeah, a lot of them haven't just been sort of flukes. They've been able to take the momentum they're able to build in the Enduro Cup, and they've carried it on to things like ARCs and the Super Series and stuff like that. So they'll be hoping to continue on in the Supercars tonight, but I don't think it's going to be easy, because there's a lot of drivers that are in form, and you've got some drivers there vying for a championship, and you've also got some drivers out there that, you know, it's the home track and they don't want to be done up by those pesky Australians from across the ditch.
No, they definitely don't. They're outnumbered pretty severely at the moment in terms of their numbers. As we said, there's normally 6 of them in the main game. Peter Throwan, Zed Snipes, Cheese Freakish, Scott Stancliffe, and Tim Redmond. And there's a couple of extras tonight as well. Young Braxton Stancliffe in for his first solo running. As a wild card, actually. He substituted a couple of times, but this is his first one as a solo. And then you've got Aiden Sayers and Josh Watson are in there as well. I think you can see Alan Watson already in the live chat as well. Looking forward to seeing how his son goes. So be really good to see how the Kiwi contingent takes it up. They were actually pretty strong at the Super 2 round just a week ago. So I think we're going to have a pretty good indication of if they're on the pace or not pretty quickly.
Yeah, we did see Braxton have a pretty, well, he put it on pole and had I think he took 2 wins going by memory. He definitely took race win in the first race there, but he had a pretty strong evening, and so did, you know, the likes of Peter Throwan and a number of other of the Kiwis. They were all pretty much there in the top 10, all not too far off the lead. So I do expect all of them to put in a pretty strong showing tonight, but very, very tight at the moment with just in the practice session between 1st and 20th, 1.5 seconds. So it's very, very tight, and even half a tenth is going to find you a position or 2 out there. So it's going to be a tough slog out there.
Yeah, I think so. And there's a lot of people I don't think have really, truly shown their either their quali pace or their race pace hands just yet either. At one stage, I saw Lockie Locke, who's actually a substitute tonight for Peter Savage. He was up about 4th on the standings. He's now sort of just fallen down to about 9th, and he hasn't the time deficit to the current fast man in practice, Tim Redmond hadn't changed. So I'm not 100% sure if he's actually done that time as a quali run or as a race run. I'm tempted to think it's probably a quali run. So I think there's still a few people that have either shown their hand too early or they haven't quite shown their hand just yet.
Yeah, so that time in Super 2 last week, of course, the setup's locked in Super 2, and in the Supercars Championship, it's open. Um, that time would have put him pretty close to the front row of the grid. So that would have put him, I think, if it wasn't on pole, it wouldn't have been pole position, but it would have been on the first 2 or 3 rows there, which is, quite a bit higher than where he actually qualified. So he's improved massively over the course of the week. So the open setups certainly has helped him, but even if it's just a quali run, that's still a pretty handy time there from Lockie Lock, and if he'll be, I'm pretty sure, happy or stoked if he could replicate that or even best that by a smidge in the qualifying session. So very, very interesting. And funnily enough, he's actually in front of his teammates so far in the practice session.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a worry, I think, with regards to being that far up the order. But what we're going to do is actually, it's a good timing. We'll go and have a look at our track overview with thanks to Smith & Sons Renovations and Extensions. Let's have a look at round 9 of the ASR Supercars Championship. As we said, we're on the North Island of New Zealand, just to the south of Auckland. A little bit of a crow's, as it crow flies, there we go. And now we zoom in on the Pukekohe Park Raceway. It's undergone a whole bunch of changes over the years. The last of those was in the mid-2000s when the back chicane was introduced. It just now turns 5 and 6. And it's the second of the circuits that we've actually run this year overall to be built around a race course. The other one, of course, is Sandown and Enduro Cup. But unlike Sandown, which goes anti-clockwise, this one goes clockwise. Lewis.
Yeah, prior to the changes that they actually made, the layout's quite similar. You had a couple, between Sandown and Pukekohe where you did have, those fast flow sections with, some chicanes and tighter corners. Obviously, they've added some more tighter corners in there, and for once, it's actually sort of improved the racing of the circuit. Normally, see they'll make these changes for safety or whatever, and it just doesn't seem to help the overtaking at all. But around here, of course, turn 1 pretty quick, 2, 3, 4. But you can definitely pass now into turn 5 and 6. We've seen it, through that chicane. You can pass at the first or second part, and then that sets you up for the hairpin as well. And we've seen cars go side by side through the vinyl sector. So it's made it a nice circuit for racing. It's also made it, good for the spectators as well, because you've got that massive hill all the way from the sort of, not the final corner, starts before that, all the way running to the start-finish line and beyond there. So good for the spectators down there, and I'm sure they're going to get a good view tonight.
Absolutely will. The one big characteristic that defines this circuit is it is notoriously bumpy, especially down the front straight, coming round the last couple of corners. So from the hairpin onwards, it will be where everybody's starting their lap. So those couple of left-handers, turns 9 and 10, and then the big, long, loaded left-hand or right-hander at turn 11 is really, really bumpy. Hard to get the power down, hard to commit. And then the same going into turn 1. There's a really bumpy braking zone going through turn 1. You've just got to sort of balance the brake and the throttle to really set yourself up for the best line possible through the chicane. The back part of the circuit is not too bad. From turn 4 onwards all the way down to the hairpin, it's actually pretty smooth. It's the front part of the circuit that is the real drama. This part where the Mustang's coming through right now, launching over the curbs. You can just see that it's notoriously bumpy there, right at the wrong parts of the circuit as you try and wind the power on. Those qualifying and lap records there will be very interesting to keep an eye out for tonight to see if we get close. I think the qualifying record of a 101.9 from Dane Warren might be a bit of a bridge too far to muster in the session, but I do see people that are about a half a second off of that at the moment. So I won't rule it out, but I still think it might be a bit of a hard task to get there.
Yeah, quality record, I think you're right there. Just a little bit out of touch for some of these guys, but we have seen the pace throughout this series over the years get substantially better. But of course, Warren being one of the premier drivers in the country, so wouldn't really expect that to be beaten. The race record, on the other hand, we could see that broken, particularly if we see a late race safety car and we see, some of the faster guys elect to pit, we could see that lap record be beaten, especially if they're running second or third. Like, let's say Rosella or Stenberg or Will, Devonish find themselves behind one of those other guys and get a bit of a tow. We could see them maybe even just be able to beat that mark. So it's going to be interesting to see if that gets beaten.
I think so too. And looking at the lap times at the moment, the fast man in qualifying, not qualifying, in practice, was Tim Redmond with a 102.487. So it's not far away from beating that lap record. It's only a couple of hundredths away, so not that far away at all. And again, we don't know whether that's a quali run or if it's a race run. We're not 100% sure on those numbers yet. Unfortunately, we would like to bring them to you, but our live timing at asrleague.liveraces.com is being a little bit of a temperamental beast at the moment. That's unfortunately not our fault. That's the hosting fault, and it's taking a bit of time for times to be posted and for data to come in live. So we're hoping that that clears up when the server ticks over to the next session for qualifying number 1, which hopefully we're not too far away from.
Yeah, so that time from Redmond in the practice session of 102.487 is actually the fastest overall time that we've seen throughout all the practice sessions and the practice server during the week. So quite a handy time there. But I don't think we've seen really any running from Stenberg, who jumped in the server quite late there and is immediately into the twos. So I'd expect him to probably find a bit of time as he goes on during the night. And Luke Rosella usually does a lot of race runs. So if that's his race pace, I mean, he's looking quite handy doing 102.8s. But at the moment, in the current practice session, we only have 4 drivers in the 102s. We did have Braxton Stancliffe in Super 2 last week actually sneak in and do some 102s. And I think there was 1 or 2 others in the Super 2 server during the week in practice able to set 102s as well. So it's going to be pretty hotly contested qualifying session with, I imagine, the majority of the top 10 here, Steve, probably sneaking their way into the 102s.
Yeah, you're right. And what was the pole time, I think, in Super 2? I think it was a 102.8, I think, wasn't it? Somewhere around that mark last week?
I'd have to double check. I know the overall fastest time was a 102.8, but I'm not sure if it was set in qualifying or if it was a 102.9. I'm just going to have a little bit of a scroll back now and just have a little bit of a look. But it was certainly, if it wasn't a 102.8 or 9, it was definitely a 3.0. It was very, very quick. And yeah, Braxton Stancliffe, 102.997, just scraped in.
997, there you go.
But he did set in the practice server during the week. He was able to go lower than that. So, quite handy. And we were speaking about Lockie Lock as well last week. His qualifying time was 104.6. So, even if he did have qualifying fuel on in practice, he's gone 1.5 seconds faster, which around this very short circuit, that is a massive improvement.
That's a major improvement. And on top of that, he's probably in one of the teams that supports everybody very, very well with CRE. So there's 4 cars in that stable. So Will Devonish, Pete Savage, Termo, and Cam Rutledge, and they all work together on things. So it's actually quite good for him being in that group at the moment as a wild card, because he's probably learnt a thing or two from these guys, not just from a setup front, but also from a drivability point of view as well.
Yeah, it certainly helped him. One thing that will be an issue here, we've just ticked over to the qualifying session. We've got 25 cars in the server. It's actually good to see Scott Nolan back out there. We didn't know if he'd jump back in for the rest of the season, but it's good to see him back out there. We've got 25 cars. This circuit, it's not very long. Traffic will be an issue here, and it wouldn't surprise me if we see a handful of guys out there not being able to put their best foot forward because they just come across a bit of traffic here.
Yeah, you're not wrong. And just got a little bit of a drama here. We can see that Scott Stancliffe is sitting there spinning the wheels. This is the one wonderful thing that the game does every now and again. It just gets everybody synchronised and in order. And you're right, it's good to see Scott Nolan back out there. I did ask him during the week if he was going to pop back in for another run at the Supercars, and he wasn't sure originally, and he said, yeah, he probably will have a run, so it's good to see. And it's also good to see the numbers are up there as well. I mean, we've been getting sort of in the mid to low 20s most of the rounds. There was actually a little bit of talk during the week. We could actually have a pretty decent server turnout tonight. We're actually up to 25 drivers. Again, great to see as the green light goes for the start of the session and all the drivers head out. I think the maximum we've had all season has been 26. That's been the benchmark for numbers. The overall session record number of entrants on any ASR session was actually earlier this year. I think it was in August. One of the ARC events had 31 turn up to a race, but the Supercars record stands at 26.
Not far off it, and We may see someone jump in the warm-up or later on as well. I know John McDonald was a bit interested in seeing if he could jump in for this round as well. So again, that number could jump up and match that record. But Cam Rutledge, he'll be the first man out to set a time. Actually got Brenton Foley as well behind him, but I do expect Foley probably to try and give himself some space, and same with a number of these drivers here. A lot of drivers have just left the pits, and they're going to have a lot of traffic to contend with here. But Cam Rutledge, he's got no such worries.
No, not at the moment. Got a clear track ahead of him. Now, the important thing too is, the lap does go fairly quickly, so if drivers start to dawdle on their out laps, then they're going to get caught, and there's going to be a bit of a traffic issue. So I think the drivers have just got to remind themselves that their commitment point is from the hairpin onwards. Once they exit the hairpin at turn 8, they are committed and they're on their lap. So there is no, backing up of the traffic at, through the last couple of corners, because you pretty much want to be carrying that speed all the way through the last couple of corners. You don't want to be trying to start the lap too late. The latest point you can start is the hairpin.
Yeah, you definitely want to start the lap a little bit early here as well. Second lap here might be okay as well. You're not going to burn your tyres out, and you're probably going to want actually a little bit more extra temperature because it is pretty cool around the circuit. And at the first sector at the moment, Rosella, out of everyone so far, is purple on a 12.3 with Cam Rutledge on a 12.8. So about half a second off here, Cam. But I think you just want to get a nice banker in just to start the lap here, especially when you're in clear air, because later on in the session, you're probably not going to get that.
Yeah, probably looking for 2 runs, I think, here. So maybe 2 lots of 2 runs. Remember, too, that little bit of tarmac on the outside there at the final corner. You don't want to kick up too much of the grass on the little bit there, or the race stewards will penalise you. Rutledge with a 4.2. And immediately surpassed by one of the subs tonight for Dane Liccardo. We'll get to more on him in just a little bit. So he goes to the top, went to the top with a 3. Stenberg now to the top with a 2.5. So time starting to tumble like a house of cards here very, very quickly. Rosella, who was purple in Sector 1, slots into 3rd. The first of the Kiwis, Scott Stancliffe at 4th.
Yeah, and just looking at the sectors, looks like Rosella lost quite a bit of time in the middle sector there. So perhaps he's made a mistake. His first sector obviously was purple. Last sector wasn't too bad. But, yeah, must have made a mistake there in the middle sector. Again, Stenberg's gone purple in the first sector as Will Devonish now jumps to the top just ahead, 102.491. Very close, but Stenberg looking to improve once again.
Yeah, looking with Josh Watson going through the first corner here. Now, Will Devonish actually set that in the draft behind Termo, so he got a pretty good tow. Termo, I think, actually picked up a track violation on that tour as well, so there's a little bit of teammate work going on here as we try and cut back to see if we can pick up Kurt Stenberg. Here he is at the final corner. He had a bit of a moment there where the rear end got away from him.
He was up.
And that cost him. And that cost him. So the margins are very, very fine at the moment between Devonish and Stenberg. And there's a bit of daylight back to this man at the moment, Redmond, who is improving and was a 1/10.5 away at the second sector split, which is just down at the hairpin. And now the tricky sector.
It was 2.5 tenths up on his own time. He'll actually be providing just a little bit of slipstream to Will Devonish behind. Does improve, but not enough. And Will Devonish improves once again.
There we go. So time starting to continue to tumble here. Looks like everybody has almost got a lap in. There's only about 3 or 4 drivers that are yet to do so. Termo, Foley and Warwick are the only, of the Steve variety, are the only ones yet to set a time. As you see Nathan Higginson getting his usual customary sideways action off of turn 4. It's, when is it not a time when Higo gets sideways? I don't know. He's proven that he doesn't need to do this, but he still does.
You could give him all kinds of traction control and he'd still find a way to spin the wheels up. But I just want to just sort of bring my attention. Steve Perko actually jumped up to P4 for a second, but he's actually been supplanted by both Liccardo and Redmond and Stenberg also found time. But Rosella's gone to the top, a 102.1. So maybe we're a little bit wrong here with the qualifying record. Maybe these drivers might be in touching distance here.
They might be getting a bit closer for comfort. I think I did say it was going to be a bit of a bridge too far. Here's your man on screen you're just alluding to, Burko, who's now currently P6, which is actually quite good for him. Probably one of his better qualifying performances so far. Finds a bit more time in Sector 1 and presses on. Let's go and see if Luke Rosella is going to find time for another lap. He's actually just exiting the lane now with Scott Nolan in tow. There go the Synergy Sim Racing Mustangs. Rosella leading out for Nolan.
Will Devonish did also just leave the pits. He's probably about 10 seconds up the road. So a number of drivers have done their first runs and now going to go through and do their second. Still plenty of time though, 4.5 seconds. If they do muck it up, And because it's such a short lap, they will be able to just press escape and essentially get another fresh set of tyres and go again.
Traffic's starting to play a bit of factor here as this conveyor belt of cars sort of starts to come across each other. You can see them all just like Stenberg, I think, just off the track, trying to give everybody as much room as he can for the drivers that are not on the fast lap. This is the only driver we're waiting on a time for at the moment. This is Termo, or Curtis Igmanis, and this will complete the set of everybody to at least put one timed lap on the board, provided he doesn't get a track cut, and he does not. He goes P6, which is actually pretty handy. That then pushes both the Stancliffs and Burko down. So the Stancliffs have moved ahead of Burko, and now Termo up to P6 and sits the second highest of the CRE Motorsport quad pair of whatever they are, the four drivers of the CRE stable.
I would actually expect both the Stancliffs to improve here. He's got Stenberg up in the first sector on his own time, and he's up on Rosella's time. But we'll see how he's able to manage here through the mid and final sectors. But I'd expect a number of drivers actually to go out there and find a bit of extra time. So there's going to be plenty of action in the last almost 4 minutes with drivers completing their time once time expires here. But Stenberg so far, it's had a good middle sector through the chicane, but he's going to come across a little bit of traffic at the back end of his lap that hopefully won't get in his way, but it might.
Yeah, this is Cam Rutledge, who's actually on an out lap at the moment as well, but I don't think this will be a factor for this lap. He's just lost a little bit of time at the second sector intermediate here, but he has gained a bit of time on his own current personal best. Nice line through the final corner, using all the tarmac and a little bit of the grass. Does that give him a penalty there, or is it Stewart's heat? No, it did. He got one in that final sector, so he did take a little bit too much grass there. So Ray Stewart said, nope, that's no good. And actually, he's over and done with there as well.
It's going to be awkward for Watson and a number of drivers where we've had a number of guys leave the pits, and because it's an awkward pit exit here, it's actually going to balk people. Same with Luke Rosella, that's Scott Nolan there, was coming across all that traffic as well.
And good job by Liccardo to get out the way there as well and take to the grass and let all the other faster cars go through. And as you mentioned, just looking for Luke Rosella, that's actually giving him a bit of a free kick now too, because he's got a little bit of clear track here. It's going to get past Orjit Mishra. And then the next man up the field is going to be Burko. There's a good 4 or 5 seconds to Burko right now. So Rosella should be unimpeded from this point onwards for the lap. And look how committed he was at 5. Car 2 wheels off the deck on the right hand side, beautifully balanced, and just flowed the car superbly through 5.
And he's up again. He's found a little bit more time. He may get a little bit of traffic here, but geez, I wish my car handled like that when I was driving, and I can tell you that.
Has he bailed, or
beautifully? No, he's still going.
No, he's still going.
And he's very committed over the bump there, that second kink. A little bit of a lift through the final corner. It's going to be a handy lap. Will he do it?
No, track cut, gone. So I reckon he took too much off the curb at turn 10. I did see the car was very, very close to the right-hand side tyres being on left there. Oh, and there's a bit of contact there. I think it sent Rhodey off the road. He's actually in his own car tonight. As we might go and see if we can pick up a bit. Well, actually, we won't look at that in the replay for Rhodey. We'll leave him alone.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think Rhodey was on a lap there, but so was Luke. And Luke was actually up when he crossed the first split, but of course got balked there. So just unfortunate for both parties there. Redman now, he's another driver about to cross the start-finish line. Stenberg up once again in the first split, but Redman is about to start a lap. This will be his final lap because there's 40 seconds remaining. So last chance saloon for both himself and maybe Stenberg. He's about halfway through the lap, so he might get another one in here.
He's towing along Braxton Stancliffe as well, and Braxton's actually up, getting the draft as well from Tim Redmond. Not only up on his own PB, he's actually up on the pole time by 0.02 of a second as well. So he's going to be praying that Tim goes faster here because he's on a very, very good lap, and this will be his last shot.
And he's made up more time for the chicane here. It's going to be very, very awkward. Tim's probably not going to want to get out of it. And right outside way for Stancliffe, and he's actually lost a bit of time there. So it looks like he may bail out of it because time has expired.
Yeah, he has, and so too has Braxton Stancliffe, so they're all in now as well. Now Stenberg, I just noticed, was going pretty quickly at the first sector split, but I think he came across Rosella and bailed. So that's over and done with for those guys. Dane Liccardo's on another lap as well, and who else have we got out there just trying to finish some laps?
Brendan Ross is
Brenton Foley
Brent-
coming to the line, so one of the Brendans and Brentons. And Foley goes to P7, so that's a good return for him. Out of that one, moves up a couple of spots. Steve Burko's the next man to get to the line. And does he improve late on in the session? He improves the time, but not the place.
He did have Brendan Ross up on his own time in Sector 1, but he lost a little bit of time in Sector 2. He himself and Higginson looking to improve. Higginson does improve. Rossi, I'm trying to think if he did that, but his P6 just ahead of his teammates. So, yeah, very intriguing qualifying session. Well, closer than the qualifying record than what we thought would be. But yeah, some very interesting. Well, we got a very interesting grid coming up here. This is, I think, going to be quite an intriguing race with a number of drivers probably a little bit out of position. I'd expect Scott Stancliffe to find his way forward in the race. He does have good race pace. We did see him go faster in the practice sessions. And same with, well, Braxton Stancliffe pretty much matching what he did in Super 2. So those guys, the dad didn't quite get the performance, but the son, he pretty much maximized what he's done in the past. So good effort from young one there. But once again, the leader of the championship, he'll start from pole position with a fantastic lap from Rosella and pulling it out when he needed to.
Absolutely, and as you said, good performance from a number of drivers there as well. Braxton Stancliffe getting pretty close to doing what he did in Super 2 a week ago. So Rosella, Redmond, and Rosella, Devonish, Redmond, and Stenberg are the top four, and then Liccardo was fifth. From Brendan Ross, Brenton Foley, Braxton Stancliffe, Termo, Scott Stancliffe rounding out the top 10. Burko was the man that was just on the fringe there, as a couple of drivers have just exited the game, and they'll probably get back in the warm-up. And that gives us an opportunity to revisit the drivers and the team's points, because it's been 3 months, as we said, since the last round at Sydney Motorsport Park. And a little bit earlier, we did say it is match point number 1 for Luke Rosella. Yes, we stole that term from Steve Day and Matt Burt from the MotoGP fraternity. They used that the other week when Fabio Quartararo took out the title at Misano. So we'll do the same. Luke Rosella has a 351-point lead over Tim Redmond coming into tonight. The order has flipped a little bit on its head with Kurt Stenberg missing one of the Sydney Motorsport Park races. There, of course, are 2 races a night. So that's seen him drop down the order a little bit there. So the margin Rosella has is a full night's worth of racing. The maximum points you can get in any night are 300, plus he's got a bit of a buffer. So important thing is here, even if Rosella and Redmond are separated by 300 points exactly coming into the last round at Townsville in 3 weeks' time, Rosella holds the tiebreaker in terms of race wins and would be crowned champion barring any penalties. So the way to, I guess, assure it tonight is that if he leaves here with more than 300 points in the bag, he will be crowned champion with a round to spare.
Now, that said, though, we've seen championships changing stuff happen at this circuit in the past. I know from personal experience. I bring it up every time I can because it's a bit of a shame. But
we're going back to 2018 here.
Yeah, it's you just never know. There's some blind corners around here. We've seen pretty much every year here we've seen a safety car, I think, happen that could throw a spanner in the works. We saw last year with Will Devonish and Kurt Stenberg having to fight their way through the field. So you just don't know. But all Luke really has to do is just keep it on the island in both races, and we will have our first non-Holden champion. Hard to believe.
Yeah, you're right. Hard to believe that everything from this point, it's been, I think, was Brenton Hobson originally in a Holden, then it was Brenton Foley in a Holden, then it was Kurt Stenberg in a Holden. And we could be staring down the barrel of the first Ford champion, which I guess would be fitting considering this year was the introduction of the new Mustang as well. So it would be an interesting situation to find ourselves with. Let's have a bit look further down the order there. So you've still got Will Devonish and Kurt Stenberg not separated by very much. You can see that's only 15 points. Peter Savage, we know, unfortunately, has got a bit of family trouble at the moment, so we do wish him all the best for hopefully getting that resolved and looking forward to see if he'll be back racing, hopefully for the last round, but a little bit of an unknown, but all our bests are with him. And then we get to Termo there in 6th place, and then come the first of the Kiwis, so the second of the Kiwis with NZ Snipes, or Kane Gray as we know him, sitting there in 7th, and there's a couple of them knocking on the door trying to get into the top 10 as well. So I think Scott Stancliffe and a couple of others are just outside the 10 and would dearly love to be on the top 10 list by the time the series is over. Pole positions has been dominated by Will Devonish for most of the season. Of course, there's 2 sets of qualifying each night, so 7 gives you an idea of where his qualifying pace has been at. And if I actually bring up the statistics of how all that has gone for this year with regards to who's got the poles and stuff. So Devonish with 7. Rosella now moves on to 5 with his pole in race number 1 tonight. And then Pete Savage with 3, and Kurt Stenberg with 2. Hard to believe Kurt Stenberg's only actually got 2 pole positions on the year. He's usually a very, very quick peddler, and he did take the majority of poles and race wins last year. He does lead the fastest lap count there, however, with Will Devonish, so he shares that with regards to the races. Over to the team standings. This is a little bit of a different beast. CRE Race Engineering, which has been the dominant duo of Will Devonish and Pete Savage, out in front by a comfortable 459-point margin there over Synergy Sim Racing. So again, that could be very close to being closed out tonight. But they have got a substitute in for Pete Savage, so it might go on to the next round. We'll see how that goes. And then look at this, Loose Sim Sport and Kiwi Sim Sport's very, very close together there. So the fight is on for 3rd in the championship here. And then you've got Termo and Cam Rutledge for CRE Motorsport, only a couple of 100 points behind. So don't rule those guys out either.
And then you've also got a massive battle between Kiwi SimSport Dev Team, the PBF Race Engineering, and the KSS underdeveloped team as well. They're all separated by margins that could all change. So a number of positions in the teams championship up for grabs. And it's actually a bit of a shame that we didn't have Scott Nolan for quite a number of rounds, because that would have made the team standings with Luke Rosella out in front, would have made it very interesting. Even if you just made 1 or 2 extra rounds or finished just 2 or 3 more races, because that would have pushed that points tally to, they would have been very close together, but still plenty to play for, even if the Drivers' Championship may just be out of reach for a number of drivers out there.
Yeah, you're not wrong. And it's a hard one too for a Synergy Sim Racing, because there's been a little bit of a drama with regards to how the substitute system works for them. The way that substitute system has worked this year is the subs have to come from the Super 2 field. Which is why we've seen Lockie Lock and a number of others over the course of the year jump into various seats. The Synergy Sim Racing stable is very much a closed outfit, and it's very difficult for them to actually bring anybody up from Super 2 because there isn't anybody there that's affiliated with Synergy Sim Racing. So for the ones that Scott Nolan has missed out on, it's been a solo show for Luke Rosella trying to amass as many points as he can. But nonetheless, the points do count. And Nolan's out there tonight, and hopefully a few more points in the bag. It could actually be quite pivotal for them, especially with Lockie Lock being the sub for Pete Savage. It might actually close up a little bit more before we head to Townsville, making the last round very, very important indeed.
Yeah, I definitely think having Lockie Lock out there is definitely going to help them sort of retain that gap. Because even if Nolan does finish ahead of Lockie Lock, and let's say Rosella, finishes ahead of Will in both the races, there's still, 2 drivers picking up points for CRA, which will pretty much just guarantee them that they're probably going to get the job done there. But as we've seen in motorsport and in sim racing, you just never know until, the checkered flag is thrown, and even in some cases until after the checkered flag is thrown.
That's right. And we have a bit of a look down here. We've actually got a couple of drivers that have actually just joined in the last few seconds as well. So we know Matt Cecil had accepted a wildcard invitation for tonight. He's actually had some PC dramas trying to get in. So he's going to start off the back in the Kelly Grove Racing Mustang. And it looks like Colin Warwick has actually jumped in as well. So that actually gives us 27 drivers for the first race tonight. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is an ASR record for supercars.
Yeah, that's again, it's at a circuit that's very, very short. It's going to be pretty busy out there, and we do expect, someone of Colin Warwick's quality to sort of move his way through the field. So he's definitely going to give us some action throughout race number 1 here.
No, you're spot on. As we get set and the grid gets ready to go for race number 1. So 35 laps. We'll have a bit of a chat about strategy. We'll have a little bit of a chat about who's going to move their way through the field. There's so many storylines up and down this field that I think we're going to have to use the time quite wisely to try and get as many of these things in as we can muster, I think.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be a lot going on in this race. There's going to be undercuts, there's going to be overcuts, there's a drivers' championship, teams' championship, and then there's just, old-fashioned pride up for stake here. So, and we've got 27 cars around a very, very short bull ring. So, lots going to be going on. Hopefully, we can keep up, and hopefully, the drivers out there put on a really good show for us.
27 car field, it'd want to be a good show tonight. As you said, there's always a couple of unusual things. We have had safety cars here before, at least one safety car for every Pukekohe round from the last time I checked. There was definitely one last year, as you correctly alluded to, and it presented a little bit of an unusual drama with when it gets called, with where you are on the track. So we'll roll this grid away for race number 1. Lewis.
All right, well, our championship leader, he'll start from the optimal position in pole position for Luke Rosella, and alongside him, season-long championship rival Will Devonish for CE. And then we have the first of the Kiwis here in Tim Redmond. Great effort from him, third in qualifying. He's got Kurt Stengberg alongside him. And been a while since he's been on the grid, but Dane Liccardo, fantastic effort in qualifying to put it P5 ahead of Brendan Ross, who also had a pretty handy qualifying session, out-qualifying his teammate Brenton Foley in P7. We have Braxton Stancliffe out-qualifying the old man, so there's some more bragging rights over him. Qualifying P8, great effort from him. And then we have Termo in P9. And then P10, we have Scott Stancliffe, another one of the Kiwis, with Steve Burko right behind him. He looked pretty handy early on in practice and qualifying, so look for him to be handy in the race. Behind him, Ujit Mishra in 12th place. Then we have Lockie Lock, the substitute driver for Pete Savage. In this one, he'll start out from 13th place. Then we have Kane Gray, aka NZ Snipes, at his home circuit. He'll start from 14th. He'll be hoping for a better run in the race and in qualifying. Then we have Cam Rutledge, who did have some issues getting in here, Steve, but he's able to get in, and solid effort in qualifying in P15, just ahead of Scott Nolan, who'll come out and start from 16th place. Stees in 17th, followed by Nathan Higginson. Freakish in 19th. Ben Hall running special livery this week, and you'll find out why just a little bit later on. He'll start from 20th with Steve Warwick in 21st, Josh Watson 22nd, Justin Cecil 23rd, Aiden in 24th, Rhodey 25th, Colin Warwick will start in 26th, and we've got a spinner, that's Matt Cecil, who's starting off the back in the Guest Kelly Gray racing car. He'll start from 27th position.
Bit unusual moment there for Matt Cecil at the back, but they're all set and ready to go. The Achilles heel this year has been Will Devonish's starts. Can he get one on Luke Rosella tonight? The answer is no. He has another shot. He has another shocker, but it's not as bad as some of the ones he's had previously. But it means that there's a bit of a bottleneck and a logjam behind as they go soaring into turn 1 for the first time. 2 and 3 wide, 5 and 6 and 7 cars deep. They've got to sort themselves out pretty quickly for this really tight sequence of corners here. Rosella's having a bit of a hard time as Devonish tried to stick his nose in there. Burko's got 2 wheels in the grass, and they all managed to somehow get through the opening couple of corners safely and en route to turn 5.
A bump drifting down into turn 5 as well, with Tim Redmond giving Devonish a bit of a hand on the Cardo, having a look up the inside of Redmond here. So already frantic start here. And we did see Stenberg actually lighting it up off the start. I thought he was going to spear into the side of another car there, but we've thankfully gotten through all of that. But already got Stenberg looking to make a move on Redmond. Scott Stancliffe in the background also looking to make a move as well. So it's all happening off the start here, and it's going to be a very frantic start with Colin Warwick already up to 17th.
Made a good move there. Stenberg right around the outside at turn 9 as well. Gets the pass done on Tim. Redmond moves up a spot, or moves back to where he started, rather, back to 4th place. Who's the man that's moved forward? So Licato's moved forward a couple of spots. Redmond's gone back a couple. Braxton Stancliffe's actually had a pretty handy start. So Kiwi's flying in 5th and 6th at the moment. And Stancliffe looking to get through on Redmond as quickly as he possibly can. Is there a move coming here at 4? Not on this occasion. Redmond's having to take a couple of early defensive lines here out of a couple of these corners just to cover off the avenue that Braxton's just trying to stick his nose in there. Now is Redmond going to resend the pass here on Stenberg at 5? Not this time.
But a little bit further back, Scott Stancliffe making a move on Brendan Ross. They're gone side by side through the chicane. Scott Stancliffe goes around the outside of the second part of the chicane. Good move. Now right behind the young'un, and it's, well, Kiwi's all in a line there.
Absolutely. Now there's 3 of them in a row. That was a beautiful pass around the outside at turn 6 as well. So it was on the inside for 5 and wrapped around the outside at 6, and that allowed him to consolidate it down at the hairpin as he continues to press on. He's dragging Brendan Ross along for the ride. And the margins out in front, they're not really getting large at the moment. Rosella hasn't been able to break away from Will Devenish, who's very much glued to the rear wing of car 55. As we go on board Will Devenish, there you can see it. He is right under the rear wing.
Well, he's got the toe now. The slipstream is quite handy around this circuit, so he's just getting pulled along the circuit. He did have a decent run coming out of turn 4. He's going to show the nose here. Bit of a signature for Will Devenish. And not quite up far enough, but Luke does just leave him a little bit of space there. But all this battling is now allowing Dane Liccato, Kurt Stenberg, Tim Redmond and Braxton Stancliffe to close in. So it's not just going to be a 1-car battle pack here, as Devenish once again puts the move up the inside. Rosella gives him just a car width, and they live to fight another day, but definitely these guys losing time here.
Yeah, they're burning time really, really hard right now. They're not able to, because they're fighting, they're not able to really break away. Stenberg's just tacking onto the back of this 3-car train at the moment now as well. And then Redmond and Braxton Stancliffe are just starting to lose a very small amount of touch, maybe a 10th or 2 a lap. They've got to find their way into a rhythm pretty quickly. Will Devenish definitely not far enough up alongside to make a move at the hairpin. He only sort of had about a 1/4 car overlap. And now tries to get this run again. So this is where I think Will's strong. I think he's pretty strong off of 4, but he's just not quite close enough to really confidently lunge under brakes here. Rosella's maybe early in the piece just trying to discourage him from doing so just by moving to the middle of the track before assuming the racing line and covering that avenue off. But this is going to be a real masterclass in patience, I think, here, Lewis, because there's a lot of stuff going on that could very easily come a cropper quite quickly. As I saw just in the background there, Colin Warwick has had a bit of a moment, or a bit of a difficult moment, trying to get past the 131 machine of Freakish.
Yeah, so Higginson and Freakish both up 5 spots, so they've both had fantastic starts in this one, but none better than Warwick, who's up 11. So expect him to continue his run forward, of course. Is a quality driver, but you've got really everyone from first all the way down to, you can almost count Steve Burko down in 11th, all fairly close together here. I would expect a bit of strategy games here to play out. You did mention it earlier. It is going to play a big part. Undercut, we could see a number of drivers, particularly here, that are getting held up. So look at, Will Devenish, Kurt Stenberg, Dane Liccato and the like. Expect those guys to maybe just take a punt on coming in a lap or 2 early. He's got Rosella wide there at the chicane. And, well, it's very, very close here, but do expect some drivers to maybe come in a little bit earlier. We do expect the tyres to only last about 20 or so laps, the soft tyre that is. So you can come in around lap 15 and make it home on tyres. Fuel is not an issue here. So expect the earliest of stops, 14, maybe 15. Try and get that undercut and get themselves up a position or 2 in this one. Or you can go the other way and then maybe pray for a little bit of a late safety car and have the good tyre life at the back end of the race.
Yeah, you've got to be really careful with how you pick that one as well. So we're expecting that probably that pit window is going to be somewhere around that lap 17 to lap 20, depending on how you want to slice and dice it. I think if you go a little bit too early, then you're probably going to be vulnerable at the back end of the race.
And we had Liccato just a little bit wide there. If you just missed the apex at turn 1 there, that bump will eat you alive. And you hit the bump the wrong way, just missed the apex and ran wide. Lucky to hold on to 3rd, but he's dropped back from Will Devenish, now coming under a lot of attack from Kurt Stenberg and Tim Redmond, who did have to sort of check up just a little bit here. But these guys are actually just broken away from Scott Stancliffe and Braxton Stancliffe, who have, well, they've duked it out, and the old man, he's got the better of the young kid, and now Brendan Ross trying to buy in on some of that action.
Yeah, they've just traded places down there at the chicane. Oh, there's a little bit of biff and barge going on. I think it's starting to get interesting at the front here. Liccardo a little bit slow off the hairpin. Now Stenberg's all over him like a cheap suit, and this is the difficult part of the racetrack to pass. And Liccardo wide through turn 11. He wasn't on the apex for the corner, and now Stenberg has got to think hard about it here and commits to the inside here. So Liccardo's got to leave him some space. They rub a little bit of panels, exchange a little bit of paint. Redmond wants to buy into this as well, but Liccardo's not giving an inch, and he's going to have to concede ground here. He's going to have to drop into line. That's the way, real quick, because otherwise Redmond was going to have him in a flash, and did the right thing there, cleared the throttle and slotted into the gap before Redmond's car could fill it.
It's right in the toe now. He's going to look to make a move back on Stenberg, but so far good racing from Liccardo and Stenberg with best tickets in
there's
the
a
house.
bit of contact there as well, and Liccardo's been spat out after all that one as well, so that's a disaster for him. But the pass was on, he just couldn't quite give enough room to Stenberg there, I think, and I'm not sure, that probably might go down as a racing incident. We might have a look at that one very quickly on the Smith & Sons replay. As you read this one, Lewis, that was probably a little bit of wheels interlocking here on the run down between 5 and 6.
Yeah, I did have a look on my own replay there. I think it's just one of those racing incident things with the way the physics are in AMS and the R-Factor motor. Just as they sort of, clipped wheels, Liccardo did have that left rear firmly planted, obviously turning hard right there, and once that sort of bounced up in the air, he's always going to spin there. So just a bit of bad luck there. I don't think there's any ill will or any real, heavy errors from either driver there. Just one of those things. But now we'll see, what Liccardo can do. He did have some good pace early on there and was able to match it with the leaders. Now he's just going to have to do it the hard way. But he's got battle packs in front of him, which will enable him to sort of close the gap up.
Yeah, so the next lot of cars that are ahead of him, you've got Steve Burko here, who's trailing Termo, and then you've got this really big, long train of cars. You've got Scott Stancliffe, Braxton Stancliffe, you've got Brent Foley and Brendan Ross are in there. They're in the opposite order, but Foley is behind Ross. And then behind them, you've got Termo coming in 9th, and then Burko's the last man in the 10th. So all these guys have moved up a spot through Liccardo's misfortune. Stancliffe now leading out this group. What's happening with Redmond at the moment? Because Tim Redmond was also on the back of that group, and now he's dropped away from Stenberg just with the issue with Liccardo. He's lost a little bit of touch here, and of course he's second in the championship. And look out in front, you can just see the first cars in the shot there. They're just starting to edge away a little bit, but Rosella hasn't been able to shake Devonish, so this is impressive from Devonish to hang with Rosella for this long. I wasn't expecting this.
Well, they were close in qualifying, and we never really see the true pace from Devonish in the practice servers, so very close between these guys. I would say Will Devonish probably does have just a little bit of pace on Rosella at this stage, but from what I've seen so far, Stenberg probably the fastest of the three, and that's why we're seeing sort of Redmond just sort of falling away just a little bit here. So look for Stenberg to make a move in the next few laps, or he may even bide his time or try the undercut just to give himself some clear air here. But on that last lap, even though he was battling with Liccardo and there's a little bit of contact, he almost beat his personal best and fastest lap with a 1:03.0 did Stenberg. So I expect this one to be a bit quicker.
Here we go. And Rosella was a bit wide at the final corner there as well, and that maybe gives Will Devonish a bit of an idea to have a look, although he's very much out of shape on the bumps going into turn 1. That was a heart-in-the-mouth moment for a second, as Rosella was very wide. And here we go. And this is what Devonish tried to do last time around, and he gets spat out as a result.
Yeah, just, again, if you're on that inside in AMS, you can lose it if you do have that little bit of contact at the wrong point, and that's what's happened to Devonish there. Very aggressive, he is faster, but sometimes you just got to be a little bit more patient than that. He did get a car width of space from Rosella. It's just, that little bit of awkward contact, and now we've got Stenberg into the lead after all of that.
Yeah, so just on the replay there for Will Devonish. So Rosella left him the space, but yeah, he was always going to be spat out as a result of that one. There was no coming back from that one. So now he's dropped back behind Dane Liccardo, and has now got Colin Warwick for company. So there's no love lost between these two guys either. They're going to fight it out for a couple more laps. But as you said, Kurt Stenberg has now officially gone to the lead of this race. There he is. So that pass took place while all of that was going on. capitalising on the instant there, and that promotes Redmond now up to third.
And he's got his teammate not too far behind either, so all looking good for Kiwi Sim Sports in the Teams Championship, as well as Scott Stancliffe to try and get himself into the top 10 in the team standings. Also got Brendan Ross again, just leading his teammate, Brenton Foley, and Foley's actually got himself ahead of Braxton Stancliffe, who's coming under threat from Termo and Burko now. So Stancliffe, after that fantastic start, just starting to fall back here as Termo makes the move into turn 5.
Yep, gets it done, and now looks like Steve Burko probably going to look to try and make a similar move very, very shortly. Back to where he started now, Braxton Stancliffe. I think probably he might have abused those tyres just a little bit too much. Here comes Burko down the inside of turn 8, and he gets that done. Yes, he does. So he gets it done and is now clear to take the racing line through these very fast couple of corners over the curb. The cars leap up over on 2 wheels. They put the inside couple of wheels in the air when they do it, but you don't want to take too much of it off because you'll end up with a track cut. And then Licardo's now moved himself back into the top 10 because Devonish is now outside the 10.
Yeah, so we are seeing some of these times from these drivers just starting to fall away a little bit, but we are getting into that range where you can pit. So next 2 or 3 laps, do expect drivers to fall into the pits. Stenberg just edging away out front, with the front 2 edging away from Redmond. Bit of a gap to Scott Stancliffe, and same with Scott Stancliffe and Brendan Ross, bit of a gap. But Foley now, he's got Termo. Termo, last few laps, looks like he's the man on a bit of a mission, as I'm looking at my other screen there.
First pit caller is Cam Rutledge. This is a little bit earlier than I was probably expecting, but he's either had an issue somewhere and has decided to take the bait early. For me, Lewis, I think this is maybe a little bit too early. I probably would have thought maybe lap 15 would have been the earliest you might want to come in, but he's decided to take the bait at the end of lap 11.
Yeah, probably, I think 14, probably the absolute earliest you could do. He's probably going to need a safety car. Then again, if he will be, at this stage, probably a lap down, so it might not be too bad for him in the long run. But at the end of this race, if he only does that one pit stop, he's going to be struggling at the back end of the race. So you do want to try and get yourself to at least halfway. But it will be interesting to see if we do see drivers just stay out a little bit longer, just sacrifice track position just to have a little bit of extra pace later on in the race.
Absolutely. Let's have a look at how the Kiwis are doing on their home turf, because there's a fair few of them. We've already spoken about this man. So Tim Redmond is the lead Kiwi at the moment. He's P3. And then you've got teammate Scott Stancliffe in P4. So those guys are looking very, very handy in the Teams Championship at the moment, with a good haul of points coming for them. We've got young Braxton Stancliffe sitting in position number 9. So he's 1 down from where he started this race. Then we go back to Freakish, so he's one of the guys that was promoted, given the ability rather to do both the main game and Super 2 this year, so up to 14th. 5-spot gain for him is a very, very good start. And then the next of those is NZ Snipes, and he's lost a couple of spots at the start here, so this is not his usual customary position. He's used to having a few top 10s on the board by now. He's had a couple of them throughout the year, so again, still a little bit of time to go. Then back to Cheese, another one of the drivers who's doing double duty in Supercars and Super 2, the Kiwi Sim Sports underdeveloped team. He's in position 21. We go back to Josh Watson in the Nissan. And then the other one of the Nissans is the last of them that's currently on the road, which is Aiden Sage, is coming on the hairpin. Now, what is it with the Kiwis in the Nissans?
I don't know, it seems to be a car of choice for the Kiwis, but we've actually got a couple of pit calls here. Matt Cecil and Nathan Higginson have elected to come in.
Yep, so Higginson in, and again, a little bit earlier than probably I would be expecting with this one. A couple of the wild cards also continue to go through. So Justin Cecil, who's in for Lockie Burke this time around, the Hype Sim Sport Mustang, is out in P23. He qualified down the back anyway. This would be he's only done 1 or 2 rounds in the wild carding stakes so far, but this circuit is very much a baptism of fire for a lot of drivers because it's so high speed and some very, very big heavy stops. There was a big lock up just ahead. That was Rhodey locking inside front on the run into 5. Good to see Rhodey back in his car, actually, normally occupied by Hans Brunswick for the middle part of the season, but a little bit of a shuffle around between the driver that was originally in the car to begin with and then the driver that took over, and now we've got the driver that was originally in the car to begin with back in the car.
Yeah, so Hans, obviously, a bit of a long week at work. I think we can all sort of relate to that at some point, and yeah, just needs a little bit of a break, and I'm sure he's watching along in Discord with a few of the boys. Rody back in the car. Hopefully he's able to pick up a few positions, get himself a top 20. But at the moment, though, biggest battle on track, we do have, obviously, a battle for the lead. But they're not battling too hard. Who is battling hard, though? Scott Stancliffe, Brendan Ross, and Brenton Foley, all nuts to butts at the moment. And a number of these guys look like they may be pitting as well. So we do have the cogs up for Scott Stancliffe, who's looking like he needs to change a set of tyres here because he's got a little bit of oversteer and a little bit of understeer as well.
He's got a little bit of all sorts of steer is what he's got at the moment, and you're right. I think those tyres have cried enough at the moment. Again, maybe a little bit of over abuse here with regards to the tyre wear. He's up 6 spots and probably does need a fresh set of boots. And I think you're going to be changing 4 here. You're not going to be changing 2. You're definitely going to be changing all 4 tyres on the car. Despite the fact of the matter that the left-hand side tyres are the working side tyres, it's the traction zones, getting out of the hairpin that you're going to need them, getting out of the turn 4 that you need them as well, so there's no point in just changing 1 or 2.
Here he comes.
And here he comes. So pulls the trigger, rightfully called by Lewis, and got to get down to that 40k pit lane speed limit, which he does. Steve Burko comes with him, and Rody in the lane as well, who's now gone a lap down to the race leader.
And we've got the 2 PBF cars side by side here, so a bit of multi 21 going on down the pit straight maybe there, or just a poor run out of the final corner for Brendan Ross there. But you certainly don't want to take 2 tyres. It's not the pit stop time it doesn't save you any time in the pit stop, and you just need all 4 tyres. You definitely need traction in, and you need left side tyres. So you might get away with just, you could change 3 tyres, but the pit stop, time doesn't really change by a significant amount. So you're better off taking 4 as Turno looks to remove. And, he'll be going through a little bit of an adventure through the old part of the circuit. But Brendan Ross holds on for now. He's now got Will Devonish trying to fight his way through the field. Right behind him. Looks like Brendan Ross, though. He's coming into the pits. We've got Stenberg coming in as well. And he's actually nailed that pit entry perfectly. He's down to 40 right on the line.
Yep, so here he comes now. The current or the former race leader into the pits. A few other drivers have been through the lane. Ben Hall, Scott Nolan, and the others already stopped so far. Nathan Higginson and a couple of others. Here comes Brendan Ross as well. So a few more callers on pit lane. This would be about the time that I'd be coming in. Lap 17, lap 18, if your tyres can make it. You're going to have a nice run of tyres. Braxton Stancliffe coming in Team 18. Mark Winterbottom Commodore as well. A couple of, looks like Cole Warwick's in as well. And I think Aiden too in the back there as well. So there's a few more callers on pit road.
And another thing that's crucial, sorry to cut you off, is that when Kurt Stenberg pitted, the leaders and Luke Rosella, they come up to traffic. So I think Stenberg's probably called it right coming in when he did, because Rosella's had to get by Matt Cecil, and he's actually got Josh Watson and Burko in front of him here.
He's coming out into some nice clear patch of track as well. So that's a very, very smart and intelligent call for Kurt Stenberg to get that done, because Rosella's responding now with Redmond. They're both in the lane, and this will be critical for Stenberg, because it's a very, very long pit entry. You can see on the graphic there just how long the pit entry is. There's a whole bunch of Nissans in there for the Kiwis. They're all stopping and getting out. But the important thing is everybody's not coming in together. So for Rosella, it's not a huge drama here. Here comes Dane Liccardo in the Lou Sim Sport Mustang. He'll be stopping a little bit further down the lane in a minute. Actually, it's just a couple of doors up from where Luke Rosella is. We've got Kurt Stenberg. He's now down at the hairpin, so we've got eyes on him, plus we've got eyes on what's going on with Luke Rosella. So
it's a bit awkward here. Redmond has left the pits and Liccardo's had to stop.
Yep.
So an unsafe, there was no contact, but a bit of an unsafe rejoin there. But Stenberg now coming out of the final corner and with Luke Rosella.
Straight. Here we go, and he's going to get him. So that's a good intelligent bit of pit stop strategy there. We were keeping eyes on what happened with Luke Rosella just in the bottom corner there, and the traffic's paid dividends. So Stenberg with the right call at the right time, and he did have the race lead, but he also has now gained a bit more time in the race lead. He's now got it out to, what is it there?
1.5 seconds,
1.5 seconds. Correct. So very, very smart bit of driving there, and to use the traffic as the rest of the field now decides to come in. So Termo's in, Colin Warwick's in, Will Devonish and Brenton Foley in. So they're coming down the lane at 40k pit lane speed limit right now, and that will then circle the race lead back to Kurt Stenberg and cleanse most of this field.
And got a bit of a battle now. Burko and Scott Stancliffe duking it out here for 8th place. They're coming up across Matt Cecil, but this pit stop's going to be quite interesting to see where everybody sort of shakes out and see if you do see every now and again people just make the mistake of having to, well, they just accidentally add a little bit too much fuel, and the fuel really is the deciding factor with the slow, litre rate added in at a pit stop there. But you don't need fuel here, but some drivers may make that mistake. But Foley will come out ahead of Devonish as Burko and Stancliffe side by side.
Now, Stancliffe and Burko have obviously gained some spots, but I think Burko's actually made a net gain overall. He's already been on to pit road.
He's jumped them all.
He's jumped them all, and he's now 5th overall. So that's, again, really good, smart bit of pit strategy by Steve Burko to get in. Oh, and there's a little... Trying to pit a square peg in a round hole there, I think, was Burko. I think the lap traffic there, that was Josh Watson, I think, probably not realising what was going on, but it presents an opportunity for Burko down the inside at 5, and he gets it done. So a little bit of unintentional bumping and a bit of miscue from the lap traffic there. Burko gains another spot, and he's up to 4th.
Yeah, great drive from Burko, up 7 spots from where he started. Of course, we have had a number of the sort of key runners in this race, have some, mistakes and drop down. But pit stop strategy, he's called it perfectly. Jumped some guys that, what we've seen in practice, he probably should have been a little bit higher in qualifying. But he's nailed the strategy so far. The question is he going to have enough tyres at the back end of the race to sort of deal with the likes of Brenton Foley and Will Devonish, who, of course, pitted quite a number of laps later. And, of course, Colin Warwick's not too far down the road either.
No, he's not. He's actually a couple of seconds behind this man on screen, Will Devonish, as he's now having to try and process some lap traffic too. So he's got Rhodey in there. Josh Watson's the next man that Brenton Foley and Will Devonish are going to come across. Same part of the track that we just looked at a few seconds ago. And also Justin Cecil in the Hype Sim Sport Mustang. So these guys are now fighting it out, not just for position, but they're also fighting the lap traffic as well. Oh, this is awkward, and Foley...
They've all lived.
They've all lived. Foley actually did a really good job there to just open the steering a little bit at the
no,
corner apex.
Contact.
And there's contact a bit further back, and that is, I think, Josh Watson might have... Yeah, lap traffic might have been tangled up in that one, I think. It might have been Justin Cecil just being caught at the wrong spot. Again, we'll have a look at that one on the race replay.
There's a lap record. There's a... close to a lap record. Close to a lap record.
Close to a lap, close to a lap record. So here's that move again. Oh, it wasn't also that. Rhodey also very nearly got into the back of Josh Watson there as well. And then with all this going on, it's a little bit clumsy as well. They were all sort of paying attention to everything else but what they should have been paying attention to.
I think it's a bit awkward for those guys. They've got so many of the leaders both in front and behind them, and they're also racing, someone for position as well. So it can be a bit awkward for those guys back there. You sort of don't know where to look, whether, look in front, mirrors, your doors, all that stuff. But another thing that you sort of did miss as well with the pit stop sequence, Brendan Ross was another winner. He was behind Will Devonish, I think, in the pit stops, and we did see him let Brenton Foley go by as well. He definitely jumped Foley in the pit stops. I can't remember if he was ahead of Devonish or not, but he definitely jumped his teammate by a considerable margin, and he was ahead. He was a little bit further behind Stancliffe, I think, as well. But
yeah, he has made a small gain there as well. He's back to where he qualified, and now Will Devonish in that whole bit of coming together with the lap traffic has actually managed to clear Brenton Foley as well. So that's a recovery drive from him. The other thing to note too is Colin Warwick has actually gotten past Dane Liccardo through the stops as well. So that's moved him up to 9th. There he is in the Canteen 3 Blackshaws racing car. And then Liccardo's just starting to close down a little bit on him. Just looking at the lap times last time around, Liccardo was a 10th slower overall, but he's actually a 10th up on him this time through Sector 1 alone. So might be a little bit to exchange there, but I think it's still a good top 10 result for Liccardo if he can bring that car home. It'll be a pretty solid return to Supercars action for him. If you're avid viewers, you would have realised that there was a bit of drama back in Queensland. We won't dwell on it too much. Actually led to him having some time off from the Supercars, but his recent good form in Super 2 and the Enduro Cup has turned out, and the safety car is, the safety car's turned this race on its head. You can see it flashing there, looking to see what's happened with who's caused the safety car. Is it Rhodey?
Yeah, Rhodey lost it at turn 5, 6, and Matt Cecil had nowhere to go but into him because Rhodey was sort of parked on the apex there. So that's what's led to the safety car, both Rhodey and Cecil now actually going into the pits. I'd be interested to
There
see
it
if
is.
we do
Yeah,
see.
there it is. You're right. He actually lost it through turn, actually between 5 and 6. And actually, who got caught up in that? So Nolan and Turmo got caught up in that as well. And then there was a little bit more biff and barge between them as they exited. So, well, it happens. It happens, and it's unfortunate call thing. And look at this, they're in straight away. Urjit Mishra is in straight away. Now, Urjit had stopped already, so maybe he's got a little bit of damage to repair, and he's sort of got nothing to lose by being at the back of the field. But how's this turn the race on its head? Because there's a few drivers in some good spots here. Now, Stenberg had a healthy margin too, so this is not good news for him. This margin now gets evaporated. Higginson just gets through on the safety car. I mean, he would have been told to pass the safety car anyway. By rule, the lap traffic does get the wave around. So he's through here, but who's the car a lap down? The first car a lap down is Steve Warwick. Now, he might get the lucky dog here and get back on the lead lap. He's actually 4th in this queue. Here he comes up behind Tim Redmond.
Now, the big winner with this safety car period is definitely going to be the likes of Will Devonish and Dane Licata and Colin Warwick. Those guys did have some pace, although... Oh, no, Cole Warwick is there, just vanished there for a second on my screen. But those guys are going to be the big winners because they are just a little bit out of position. But definitely Will Devonish now, he's not going to be too far away from that podium position, and he'll be able to fight his way back onto the podium. He might be able to salvage, if he's very lucky, a top 2 here. But it's going to be very interesting to see, guys that may be a little bit further down. Just take a gamble here and just come in again and put another set of fresh tyres on, just so you have that tyre overlap. Because if you're at the back there, you've really got nothing to lose.
Urjit Mishra there, he actually just had to shortcut the chicane there as well. He'd come out of the pits and actually has gone through the runoff road, so I'm not sure what's happening there. There might be a couple of...
Game may be telling them to follow someone,
yes,
and they're just dropping down here.
So there might be a little bit of a drama. There might be a couple of penalties levied that might need to just be very quickly assessed and see whether or not they are actually legitimate penalties. I don't believe that class is legitimate. If he's being told to follow someone, either that or he's outbraked himself coming out of the pits, which would be most unusual. You don't need to be going that fast. And off we have now got the whole train just sort of starting to come together here. The current fastest lap of the race is Luke Rosella with a 102.699. So that's about 2 and a little bit tenths off the race lap record. Who else is in the 2? So Tim Redmond set at 2.9. Interestingly, Kurt Stenberg's at 3 flat. Other men in the 2s, Will Devonish with a 2.8, Brent Foley with a 2.8, which is a bit of a surprise, and they're the only ones. The whole field is under a minute 6, so a few drivers there. I think I've actually set some PBs, so Aidan Sayers has set a 105.5, Josh Watson is a 5.4, so he's got one on his Super 2 teammate at the moment. It's Josh Watson. A few other drivers that I'm interested in having a look. So Scott Nolan's up to a 3.7 on his best lap, and that's after some time out of the seat, so that's good from his point of view. What is going to happen here with this safety car next? We always get 2 laps as a guarantee, and then it's about 2 laps random. So the lights are still on. Safety car going to come in this lap, or are we going again? We're going, no, we're going back to green. So just the 2 laps to clear up any of the debris down at turn 5 and 6. And Stenberg's got control of his field. So all line astern here. Stenberg, Rosella, Redmond and Burko, your top 4. Then Scott Stancliffe, Brendan Ross, Will Devonish, Brent Foley, Colin Warwick and Dane Licata's back in the 10. Who does this safety car benefit? We're going to have 8 laps to decide this race here. As you can see, a couple of penalties flashing up. I'm sure Lewis will be right onto those in a few seconds. And we get to the control line. Stenberg will hit the go button, and away we go for the last 8 laps of this race. And immediately taking a defensive approach. Rosella looking to go around the outside and set it up for 2. Is he going to go down the inside here? He tries to do it. There's a little bit of panel banging as they go through here. They don't want to fight this too hard, because Redmond is right there and got a great run out of the turn 4 corner.
Yeah, sorry, just trying to sort out the Urjit Mishra penalty here, so I can't really keep up.
Well, here we go. We'll keep going while we look at that. Here's Rosella, tries to flick to the inside here, having to play defence against Tim Redmond here. Hold him high and wide, so he takes the apex away from him at turn 5. And now Stancliffe has managed to clear Burko in all of that as well. So Kiwi's back to 3 and 4 on the road. And Brendan Ross now looking to eye a move on Steve Burko a bit further rear. And then Will Devenish hasn't been able to get going here. But Colin Warwick has cleared Brenton Foley. So a couple of positional changes at the inception of the return of the green flag as we come back to the line to complete lap 27.
Yeah, so we've got a number of drivers out here that have picked up unfortunate penalties here. It looks like these guys were already a lap down and were sort of trying to let the field go by here. So that's why Matt Cecil, Rody, Cam Rutledge and Misha all picked up penalties.
Here we go. So a couple of little indiscretions, but doing the right thing as per the game allows, and just one of those little things that pops up every now and again as it all settles down again for just a few moments. Devenish has now made a move on Brendan Ross, who's made a mistake, and now Burko all over Scott Stancliffe, and down the inside at 5, tries to pull the move. Can he wrap it around the outside at 6? And Stancliffe, I think, is probably just going to hold it here, and that's going to invite Will Devenish to try, and he'll have to go the long way if he wants to pull this off around inside the headwind.
Oh, Ross is gone.
No, it's Ross. Did he get served, or did he do it by himself?
Oh, I got Stancliffe has also got right out sideways. Burko sideways as well. I'm not sure if there was contact there, but what's all happening on this safety car restart? I'm just going to cut back to a replay and see if there was... No, he just looped it on his own there, so...
Oh, Burko, so sideways and a bit of incidental contact. It's taken Devenish out.
Massive smash, he's rolled.
Big smash on the front straight. Mishra's involved as well. And the drive-through penalty for Brendan Ross there. Surely this is going to have to be a safety car. I wouldn't be surprised it is, but it's not. So that's a bit of a surprise. Burko had a bit of a slide job through the final corner, boxing on with Scott Stancliffe. Let's go back to the replay and look at this, because this was absolutely right out there. Stancliffe doing his best to try and avoid it. Burko's car's just drifted into the path of Stancliffe there, and then Devenish nowhere to go. Mishra nowhere to go.
We got another wreck. We got another wreck out of turn 4 as well.
And we now have a safety car again. So out of turn 4, with all of this going on, there's now another one.
Race has gone off. So that was Rody and Freakish, I believe. I didn't catch the incident. I just saw the cars around there, but that's exactly what Steve Burko needed, because I'm pretty sure he's got a bit of damage from that. It was just unfortunate. Yeah, he's got a puncture, does Burko. But it was just that, again, that rear left was weighted, that little bit of contact from Stancliffe and just the game engine kind of things lifted that wheel up and around.
Freakish was across the circuit and had nowhere to go, so not sure if he got served or if he did that on his own. But Rody had absolutely nowhere to go because he had a car on his other side and just couldn't stop in time. So rightfully so, the safety car called.
Brendan Ross is out. He's blown his engine under safety. I don't know if the safety car was called then, but he's blown his engine coming into turn 5. So this race has exploded, just like Brendan Ross's engine, with 6 laps to go.
It has, and there's also a penalty, I think, for Scott Nolan as well that has been levied in all of that as well for track cuts. So, and he can't serve that under a yellow flag. So he's got to get in and get that done when we go back to green flag racing. Potentially could look upwards of at least 2, if not 4, between 2 and 4 laps behind the safety car here now. So there's a fair bit of angst as it gets late in the season. There's plenty to play for. I mean, you saw on the points graphic that Steve Burko was one of the ones that was in the 10. And
team's championship, it's going to affect that as well.
It is going to affect the team's championship a lot. I mean, from Lou Simsport's point of view, Dane Liccardo's managed to move himself back up to 7th after all of that shenanigans going on. Colin Warwick's moved up to 4th, ahead of Scott Stancliffe and all of this as well. So there is a fair bit of drama yet to unfold in the last couple of minutes of this race. Now working our 35th minute. These races usually go for about 40 minutes or so. There's another one still to come tonight. So
now, Burko's just leaving the pits and he's just going to stay on the lead lap there. So he'll get that lap back and he'll have some warm tyres by the time he gets to the back of the queue. So just lives to fight another day here.
Yeah, very important there. And that's really sad for Burko too, because that was probably one of the best runs he's had all season long. And just again, it's just a little incident, little contact situation. And they were fighting hard and neither Stancliffe nor Burko wanted to give an inch, and Stancliffe left him a little bit of room and just saw that Burko got a little bit loose on that inside curb at turn 11. Then the rear end of the car's just drifted a little bit and possibly just grabbed him on the overcorrection just to try and get the car straight. And I mean, there wasn't really much Stancliffe could do in that situation. He was just sort of on the outside, and I guess he's lucky that he's still up in P5, but it did, I guess, give the opportunity for Cole Warwick to go straight down the middle. It's like the Red Seas parted, basically. And he ended up with P4 at the end of the day.
Yeah, he got very, very lucky getting through there, you know, because you can't really correct, you can't slow down in that situation at that part of the track, because if you slow down, you get rear-ended. And if someone's right in front of you, you don't really have the time to turn because it's a bit of a blind corner as well. So he'll can count his lucky stars with that one, and he could find himself almost doing a last to first challenge here. He did start off the second last row as we go green.
Yeah, we're about to go back to green now. Burko would have been hoping for another lap of safety car here so he could catch up to the train, because he's only just exited turn 4, so he's not going to be on the back of the snake with those warm tyres just yet. He's going to be probably down around about the turn 6 and 7 by the time Stenberg gets to the control line here. So 4 to go and all to play for. Is there a late send here? Can someone make an extra spot? Is there a complexion change in the top 3 between now and the end of this race? We'll find out in about 6 or 7 minutes' time. Stenberg gets the go pedal again and doesn't take the defensive line this time, takes the more natural line and covers off Luke Rosella, and Redmond's hanging in there as well, but he's got to be ultra careful here. Does Redmond, because
Stancliffe having a look at, sorry to cut you off, just having a look at the back of Warwick there, and Warwick as well is very close to the back of Redmond, so already a bit of a concertina here. He's a little bit further back. We've got the Mark Winterbottom car, also defensive with Scott Nolan there as well.
And Scott Stancliffe lost out in that one too by trying to pull that little move off. He actually lost some ground exiting turn 4 and lost a lot of straight line speed relative to Cole Warwick. So there's already a bit of push and shove I can see going on back there as well. Looks like Scott Nolan may have made a couple of spots. And Dane Liccardo's the next one that I'm looking at. He's trying to gnaw away on the back bumper of Brendan Foley here as well. And I don't think he's probably game to try and pull the Burko trick around the outside of 9 and 10 here as Nolan goes flying into the pit lane. That'll be to serve his drive-through penalty.
Yeah, so that'll filter him to the back of the queue, but we've still got a number of positions up for grabs here. I think Stenberg, at least for the moment, probably got one hand on the race win. He's been able to edge away from Rosella, who's been a bit scrappy on the opening lap, and Rosella himself has got a little bit of a gap. Redmond, though, he's got Scott Stancliffe very wide here. That's going to be very inviting, as at the same time on the exit, we've got Colin Warwick at a little bit of a blue as well, and it's a little bit sideways. Redmond is going to go defensive, but we've got a heap of racing in these final couple laps as Warwick has a look up the inside, not close enough to make a move, as we see Scott Stancliffe defensive in behind as well.
Yeah, Stancliffe having to do the same with Brenton Foley, and again, Dane Liccardo lockstep right there. Stancliffe very, very loose off the hairpin as well. As we have a look at this battle, and Foley look down the inside, covered by Stancliffe.
Oh, compromised himself there, and Liccardo straight up the inside. Good move.
Yeah, very solid move, but he's on the wrong side of the turn here as well, and he clears the throttle to let Foley back. He didn't have enough traction off the hairpin to make that move stick, but it was an opportunistic
Redmond wide up ahead as well, and that'll be Colin Warwick onto the podium.
It is at the moment, so with a couple of laps to go, Warwick goes through to a podium position. So not quite a last to first challenge, but very, very close to it, as Foley in the background's made a mistake, and Liccardo's going to try and get him on the outside here, but no, couldn't quite hang on to it. So Liccardo just not quite there in the right spots to try and capitalise on it all. Real battle.
Further back, we've got a massive battle. It's behind Termo, Cheese, Ben Hall, all duking it out with some lap traffic in there as well. So we've got battle packs everywhere here.
Here we go. Here is that pack you were talking about. It's headed by Lockie Lock at the moment as well. Termo's going to go 2 by 2 round the outside of Cheese. Whole position here. That opens a wedge for Liccardo. That's a little bit sort of for Higginson. That's a little bit horny, a little bit of a bump there, but he redresses that and lets him have it back, and now doesn't try not to challenge it here.
Well, a little bit of a bump there from Cheese, and then you got Higginson there as well, so it's all kicked off at the back and at the front, and Cheese losing at 2 positions there. Termo getting P12 back with Higginson right behind him. That's allowed Locke to get away. Further ahead, you've got Devonish and Braxton Stancliffe duking it out. Devonish up the inside at turn 1. He gets that job done, and even further ahead, we've got Foley now making a move on Scott Stancliffe. He's had to cut the first chicane, and he's gained that position back out of all that, so there might be a little bit something to say with the stewards after that race if it's not redressed there. And Liccardo looked to buy in as Foley gets that position.
Yeah, he gets it now, and Liccardo will be in position here for turn number 5 to consolidate. Oh, there's a bit of contact there. It's on the brakes, and there's they're all outbreaking themselves here, and Stancliffe has to cut it. Now the question is, he has gained an advantage there, but I'm not sure how the stewards will read that one. That's a little bit of an interesting situation. We'll come back to that in a few minutes, but out of the final couple of corners, you're right, Stenberg did have one hand on it here. Goes through the final corner, and will come to the line, take a race win. Here's Nolan, another penalty for the track infringement. So Rosella plays second fiddle to Stenberg in this one, and Cole Warwick gets up for third place. So played his cards right, played smart when the going was tough, and managed to avoid the carnage there. Demotes Redmond to fourth place, so that's a dent in Redmond's title hopes. They were a little bit slim coming into the night anyway, so he's got a fair bit to play for there. Scott Stancliffe finishes P5, although there will be, I guess, a bit of a look at what happened there. He was off the road a couple of times. Brenton Foley to 6th. Dane Licata hanging on to 7th place. Will Devonish to 8th. Braxton Stancliffe on debut in the main series as a solo driver, not as a substitute, in 9th. He's had a couple of subs a few times, but he's done quite well there for 9th. And then NZ Snipes, he actually moved himself into the top 10 there, so that's actually a pretty good recovery for him at the end of the day. As we go back through the rest of the field, Lockie Lock in P11, so pretty handy sub so far, and a good lap there. 103.6 was his fastest race lap, so not that far off the best race, the best lap we've seen from him so far tonight. And then we get back to Cheese, Ben Hall, Freakish and Turmo to 15. Burko recovered to 16th. Scott Nolan was the last man on the lead lap in 17th, and then Ujit Mishra, Justin Cecil and Steve Warwick rounding out the 20. Only the one retirement, of course, which was Brendan Ross with the blown engine on lap 28. So it remains to be seen whether or not he's done the minimum 75% rule to actually be classified for that one. But we'll wait and see what goes on when we do all the mathematics later on in the day.
Yeah, so we're talking early on in that race that NZ Snipes, he hadn't had a good start to the race, but at the back end of it, he managed to get himself a top 10. So it wasn't looking good early on, but what matters is where you cross the start-finish line at the end of the race. And yeah, he's picked up a top 10, was able to survive all the carnage, with the two safety cars, and he's picked up a good top 10 there. But there's a number of drivers out there, you've got to say, Steve, that put in really good drives, even if they have had a little bit of adversity. So Dane, I think he had a pretty good run, even though was running in third, fourth place there and went off the road. He was able to recover nicely. And then you had, Scott Stancliffe have one of his better runs of the season. The same with Tim Redmond. But of course, you've got to go, Colin Warwick starting at the back of the field and working his way to third place in there. And that was a good run.
Yeah, that's probably the drive of the day, I think, so far. We've seen a couple of last to first challenges in the supercars. I think the last one of those we saw was Mitch Hathaway's all those years ago. I think it was like 2 years ago now that he did that. And I think you've got him there, haven't you? You've got Colin Warwick, have you, Lewis Wedding?
Yes, he has jumped into the booth. Colin, obviously you jumped in very, very late there in the warm-up, but it hasn't seemed to have mattered. You've been able to fight your way through the field. Talk us through the early portion of that race where pretty much after the first lap you'd picked up 10 spots. So how'd you manage that?
Oh, just a bit of aggressive driving. Just went for the moves when they were there. I didn't try and be too overcommitted or do anything stupid. Just moves that were fair enough up the inside and get it done. So that was good fun.
And it certainly would have been. And then the back end of that race, or the middle portion would have, you did find yourself a little bit strung out there, but those safety cars brought you back into play. How was the strategy? Obviously, you jumped in pretty late there. Was there any concerns with perhaps you're not having enough tyres at the end, or what was your thoughts with how you're going to play out strategy and try and work your way up the field in the back half of that race?
Yeah, it was it was a bit funny. I probably did maybe half a dozen laps during the week to test the mod, and then I forgot qualifying was started when it did, and I was late by about 2 minutes. So then I had no data. I didn't know what my fuel number was or anything, so I was just trying to work out on the fly. And yeah, the safety cars they helped for track position, but I still would have made the end of the race. But yeah, no, that was good fun coming through. And the safety cars, I thought I could get a sniff for the lead, but because I was talking to the boys in the other channel and they were saying their tyres were red and mine was still yellow. So, but I cooked them at the end. So But yeah, happy still finish on the podium.
Yeah, certainly. It's always a great drive when you start at the back and end up on the podium at the back end of that race. How did you feel your pace was, and do you think you can sort of challenge for the lead and the win in race 2?
I think I can. I had the wrong gear ratio in the car. It was a little bit long. So we'll change that up for this next one and see if the car behaves a little better. But it definitely helped with a bit of fuel saving. Wasn't burning nowhere near as much as the other guys, so that helped a bit. So I don't know whether to, go that path or try and find a bit more pace. But yeah, I think I can challenge for the lead. Just have to wait and see.
Well, either way, still a fantastic effort, and good luck in race number 2.
Yeah, thanks guys. Cheers.
All right, and of course we do have our championship leader and second place getter in that one, Luke Rosella. You did lead the early part of that race. You also managed to get pole position, but in the end, you just didn't quite have that long run pace, and you couldn't quite reel in Kurt Stenberg after going long in that first stint. Talk us through the race.
Yeah, thanks, Loss. Got to a pretty good start. Gapped Will Devonish a little bit, but he wanted to push early on. So yeah, I sort of wanted to balk him a little bit to sort of catch the pack up behind him, so they could race him, and you can use more of his tyres. In the end, I think he went for a pretty audacious move at turn 3. I think he hit the side of my car, so he had to fight back on, and Kurt overtook me at turn 4, and I just wanted to stay behind him because I sort of knew that our tyre wear was actually pretty good. So yeah, I just wanted to keep behind him, and he actually ended up pitting a lap earlier. So yeah, we went a lap later than him. So
Closed the gap down, but I think you got it down to maybe as close as a tenth and a half, 2/10. Do you feel maybe in race number 2 you'd be a little bit more aggressive in trying to get yourself back into the lead, or are you just trying to play just that long game and just pick up the points and just be happy to finish P2?
well, really, we're racing Tim Redmond because he's in second place in the championship, and we need to have over 300 points to him to seal it this round. So yeah, we'll always be looking at Tim, but it's also good to battle Kurt for the win. But we'll see. I'll be playing a long game. I'll be saving the tyres, and we'll see where we end up.
All right, no worries, Luke, and look forward to seeing you just pound around out there for second or third place in race number 2.
Yeah, get out there, mate. Thanks, mate.
All right, and to our race winner, Kurt Stenberg, fantastic drive. Didn't have the most ideal qualifying session. Didn't have the most ideal start. You almost spun it off the start line, but you're able to hold on to it, and in the end, able to sneak your way into the lead, and you're able to hold on to the end. So just talk us through, first off, just the start and how you managed to survive that.
Yeah, I got a good initial jump, but I kind of gave it a bit of luck because I saw Will was going to go nowhere and I was going to go around him, and then I obviously let the clutch out too fast, and we had a lot of wheel spin, so we went backwards in a hurry there, and then from that point onwards, I went, well, I haven't qualified well, I haven't started well, so I guess I just need to sit here and save tyres. But when I got that opportunity to have a run on Luke and get past him, I thought, well, I'll just take the lead now and we'll see what happens. And yeah, the tyres didn't quite make it to the halfway point, but it all panned out from there with the safety cars.
It's the safety cars certainly did help. That said, you did pit early, and that undercut certainly did help you out. You were pretty much nose to tail with Rosella prior to the stops, but that outlap, you were able to put a bit of time on him. Was the traffic that you were coming up on the main reason why you pitted, or was it just because your tyres were just falling away too much and you just needed to change?
I needed to change tyres. I felt the thing doing the weird slide that it does in the back end on the rear right, or rear left rather. So I went, well, that's actually why Luke passed me before the pits. I actually was in the same channel as him. I let him go because I thought I was going to end up off the road. I thought it was about to puncture. So I pitted, and then I was just hedging my bets. I was going to try and save the tyre in the second stint, and then the safety car meant that there were 2 safety cars meant I didn't even need to save the tyre. So those last few laps I could go flat out and just try and keep the lead off of him. So good racing, but he made it difficult, that's for sure. So I hope we go and have the same thing again in the next one.
Well, the Both yourself, Luke, Will, and even Cole at the back end of that race, as well as Tim, all very close together on pace. So it's going to be a very interesting race number 2. Well done on your race number 1 win, and good luck in race 2 later on.
Thanks, mate. I hope to be back here.
See you, buddy.
See ya.
Well, there you go. There's your top 3 from race number 1. Kurt Stenberg, Luke Rosella, and Colin Warwick, who's probably put in the drive of the round so far from starting at the back end of the grid and managing to get himself to the podium. Let's see what he can do when he gets to qualifying number 2, which will be in a couple of minutes' time. We'll take a short commercial break and we will return after these messages. Don't go anywhere. ASR's Supercars Championship in 2021 is proudly brought to you by Smith & Sons Renovations and Extensions. Smith & Sons. Design, plan, construct. Cam Rutledge Electrical. And Matt Harvey Repair and Shoon. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for continuing to join us here on Outworld Broadcasting. You're watching round 9 of the ASR Supercars Championship for 2021. And as always, a big thanks to the series sponsor, Smith & Sons Renovations and Extensions over here in Australia. I know there's plenty of builders and renovation experts around the country and also over in New Zealand. There's, of course, a couple of New Zealand sponsors here at the Pukekohe circuit. Beyond Electrical for Peter Thrower is one of those. And Scott Nolan has been able to put in a bit of cash for the group for Smith & Sons this year. Some of the work they do is actually quite incredible. And there's a big run, I know, on a lot of building products and a lot of builders trying to build things for everybody at the moment. But if you're looking for that kitchen renovation or bathroom renovation or anything to do with your home renovation or building the house, making it a bit bigger, Smith & Sons Renovations and Extensions over here got a presence in most of the mainland states. So give them a look and I'm sure you won't be disappointed. While we wait for Lewis Wedding to jump back into the box here, it's a timely reminder that it's that time of year. It's getting close to the end of the year. We did see just on the few messages there that most of the series that are currently underway have not got very long to go. And that means that there's the last little bit of business around the corner, and that is the survey and awards night for the end of the year 2021. We had a bit of fun with this last year with a live stream and handing out some awards and living out or reliving some of the best memories of the night. So tonight, after racing is over, the 2021 end of year awards and survey will actually be released. So we want to hear from everybody, whether you're a viewer of the live streams, whether you're a driver, whether you've a broadcaster or an admin, whatever the case may be. We want to hear from you. We want to know who deserves some of the awards this year, like who was the best defender, who put on pass of the year. What were the best moments of the year, and also help us shape what next year's racing calendar looks like. I mean, we know drivers love supercars and we know they love GT3 machinery, but what else do you want to see going on? We've tried a couple of different things this year and some of it's been really, really good, and we'd like to get your feedback on that. The rules around the survey, you've got to have a unique code before you can vote. So Brenton Foley and Will Devonish are the men looking after that. And the reason they're doing that is because some of these awards have got prizes attached to them. They're coming out of the big prize pool that came from the Enduro Cup for Penrite and Ryko. And some of those will be handed out. We're not going to say for which awards, but some of them do have them attached. So the unique code sort of means that the code can't be used more than once, and it means you also can't vote for yourself and you can only vote once. So it sort of gives a little bit of integrity to the overall process. And at the end of it all, we'll have a little awards night live stream, probably in the second or third week of December to close out the year. Importantly, pay attention to the announcements thread in the Discord after the racing is over tonight, if you're a driver or someone associated with any of the drivers. And most importantly, voting closes at midnight on Sunday, the 28th of November. Now, the reason for that is because all the prizes need to actually be shipped, and they're currently sitting in New Zealand. And if some of them need to stay in New Zealand, then we need to let them know which ones they need to retain before they send the stuff over to us. And we're aiming to try and have some prizes in people's hands probably just after Christmas, with all the stuff going on here with Australia Post and other things as well. We're hoping to try and get that done as quickly as we can. But there's some nice goodies in there, and Lewis, I'm sure there will be quite a few people very interested to see what prizes they end up with for some of the things that awards that get handed out.
Yeah, there's some there's one or two prizes in there that I certainly wouldn't mind having, but I don't expect to have any. But yeah, there's some really cool stuff that some guys are going to win, and I reckon there's going to be some people that probably don't expect to sort of find themselves, coming home with any kind of prizes or anything like that, they may, they might find themselves with. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that all plays out. And of course, last year was a pretty successful night. No real prizes on offer last year, but this year makes it just that little bit more special, and some nice merch and some nice gear going out to. I'm sure there's going to be various people around the community that are going to pick up some nice stuff for what's been a really productive and a special year for the AMS Oz / ASR community.
Yeah, it's been a really, really interesting year. I mean, we looked at some stuff last year with the Bathurst 500. We ended up with that was the first ever sponsored races, and this year there's been some sponsorship left, right, and centre. I mean, we can't thank a lot of the guys enough. So, I mean, we spoke about Smith and Sons renovations and extensions before, Cam Rutledge Electrical, Matt Harvey Repair and Shoon. Over in New Zealand, Beyond Electrical, those guys have done a fantastic job as well, just contributing a little bit to help things along. There's actually been some private donations as well. I know Phil Gurman, or Taipan as he's more affectionately known in the community, gave a little bit of money to the group just from a personal donation to say thank you for all the work that everybody had put in this year. Endurance Chat Media, again, those guys have done a fantastic job with the Super Series, and a number of the series they've also done as well. And of course the three broadcasting channels of Outworld, Loose Sim Sport, and of course Endurance Chat, bringing all of the main series this year. It's just been one of those years. It's been a something that we didn't expect, and then to top it all off, Penrite Oil and Ryko Filters came along and put a whole bunch of merch in our laps for Enduro Cup. But they also said that they were happy to see us distribute that in whatever way, shape, or form that we so chose to do. So we're going to see a fair chunk of that go to drivers in the Enduro Cup, but there is also going to be a bunch of stuff that gets handed out for some of the prizes there. So there's stuff there for the best and fairest. There's probably going to be a few things for some moments of the year, but yeah, without giving too much away for how everything goes. We'll let that awards night sort of be the catalyst for everything. I'm just keeping an eye on some things going on at the moment while we're waiting on one person, and Nathan Higginson's decided it's time for slow burn routes.
If he drove that controlled in a race, he'd probably get some better results, because that's some nice skids that he's laying out there. But when he's out there on the racetrack, he's definitely a lot more out of control, a bit like that there.
Yeah, you're right.
But just waiting on a couple of guys here. But yeah, race 2 here, obviously qualifying
Whoops.
coming up.
He's
Gonna be-
he's just had a bit of he just made a mistake there. So that he's unfortunately just done what we told him not to do. All right. So there we go. All right, so we're now moving on to qualifying session number 2. There's been a little bit of course, a wait there, just while we had a bit of a chat about the broadcast and also the prize pool that's coming, no doubt. We'll get a bit more on that a bit later, but last year, if you were paying attention to the awards night, there was, of course, the live stream that went along with it. And we had a bit of a Teams meeting going. That was how it all worked with COVID last year. We ended up having to do a meeting, getting everybody together and having a chin wag. I think I got caught out with all business up top and the party down beneath. We're not going to have any of that this time. But what I am looking forward to is what we can actually try and do to make the broadcast a little bit different this time. I've got some ideas up my sleeve, and I'm yet to run it past the admin crew to work out how this is all going to work. But we'll have a chat about that a little bit later on. So suffice it to say, we might be looking at trying to do a little panel show for the end of year awards thing. As you can see, all the field just filing out into pit lane to await the green light. So Braxton Stancliffe, unfortunately, looks like he's missing from this one, so that means he's going to have a rear grid start for this one. He dropped out of the server and can't wait for him any longer, so he's going to have to jump back in when the session finishes. Green flag gets shown, the green light at the end of pit lane gets going. Cam Rutledge, for the second time tonight, leads them out.
Yeah, he's able to beat them all out, and he's just driven straight out while everyone behind him sort of just taking it nice and easy. So once again, nice, should be a nice clear track for Cam, although I'm sure there's probably a couple of drivers that are still in the pits. In fact, they're still filing out of the pits now that I go back to it. So
yeah, they're all still sitting there. There they come. Look at them all. They're just waiting and joining the queue. And I think there's only 1 or 2 people that are yet to leave the lane. And actually, it's only one, and it's Rhodey. He's the only one who is not on the track.
So yeah, Rhodey, Steve Warwick, who's going to be the last man out of that current crew, and Cam Rutledge are going to be the only ones that have some decent track around them. No, it's going here. So Cam will be the first man to set a time barring a track cut. He's actually got Scott Nolan behind him, not Luke Rosella. And then there's Stenny and Cole Warwick behind that, with Brenton Foley looking to probably nab a bit of a tow as well.
Let's have a go on board with a lap for Cam Rutledge here. Let's see if he can put it together a nice, calm and controlled and measured lap. So down the front straightaway, staying over to the left-hand side. Gear approaching in maximum gear, top gear of 6 gear, and 240 odd k's an hour into turn 1. Just glided over the curbs in turn 2 and 3. Doesn't use all the road on the left-hand side on the approach to force. Doesn't open up the corner as great as some of the other drivers do. A 12.7 is the opening sector time for him. Turn Colin Warwick down to a 12.4. Big, long, fast approach. Hardest braking spot on the circuit for turn 5. Take a bit of curb on the inside at 5. Again at 6. You want to keep the car over to the right-hand side to open up turn 6. Stay tight through 7. Let the car naturally flow out to the left-hand side for the slowest corner on the circuit. Turn 8, the hairpin. Hard traction zone. Don't want to pick up the throttle too early. And then this sequence of left and right-hand corners. So 10, 11, didn't quite move it all the way over to the left, and then this really tricky one, the final corner. It tries to feed you into the grass. You don't want to be fed into the grass, and he does a 4.3, so 1 minute 4.389 for Cam Rutledge, and immediately being supplanted by a number of drivers behind.
A number of drivers also picking up track cuts there, so Kurt Stenberg and I think who's with him on the circuit as well also picked up a track cut there. So a number of drivers just a little bit too aggressive and just going outside the white lines there. But Devonish leading the field immediately at 102.2. So he's straight on the ball here, and that's going to be a tough time to beat with 7 minutes remaining.
Pole time in race 1 was a 102.1 from Luke Rosella, so he's right up there again with Devonish with the pole time, or currently provisional pole time, we should say. There's still a fair bit of this session to go. And again, Rhodey is still the only man not out there on the circuit, still holed up in pit lane. Maybe he's just going to go with the one run, or maybe he's just going to start rear of grid for this one. As we keep an eye here on Josh Watson, currently 16th provisionally quickest time, 106.4. We definitely know he went faster than that in race trim. He was down to a 5.4. Let's see what he can do this time around. So his first sector was a 12.9. It's a little bit slower than what we probably would be looking to see. He is up on his own time here by 0.6 of a second. So if he keeps that going, that'd move him into a high 5, around a 5.8. He can pick up any more time here through the final corner. Good line through 11. And late apex here, use all that little bit of strip on the outside. That's a good line. And to the line here, probably going to be a bid 4. Actually picked up a lot of time. So 4.6 for Josh Watson. So that's definitely one of his better laps for the night.
Yeah, picked up a smidge over a second there in that final sector. So clearly didn't get it right in his first lap. But certainly did on his second. But he'll still be looking to try and find a little bit more time in the first and second sectors. But at the moment...
Currently, Kiwi at the moment is actually NZ Snipes, who's just been pushed down to 6th. Actually, no, it's not. He's been pushed down to 5th by Freakish. So that's the one I was looking at. He was 5th for a second. Freakish has now snuck his way up. Liccardo now moves back up to 4th and punches them all down a peg. Stenberg is currently up on the pole time at Sector 1. What does it look like at Sector 2? As Rosella now goes to the top with a 101.988. So now we're going to start to search for the record books to make sure that that is officially a new lap record, because that's mighty close to what we had earlier in the night. Stenberg now comes to the line. And can he better this time? He'll probably go to the front row, I think, at this stage. No, just loses a little bit of time and goes to P3.
So I had a look back earlier to have a look at the number, and he's not quite there. So the lap record for qualifying on 101.977, and he's just shy of that with a 101.988. But
11
still,
thousandths of a second is all that separates him and a lap record right now.
That is a fantastic lap. Just a little bit of a toe might help him, but either way, that's going to be very, very tough to beat.
It is. He's on an out lap right now. He's actually in behind, I think it's Tim Redmond, who's in behind Scott Nolan. Someone's had a spin off of turn 4. There's a fair bit of smoke there. I couldn't see who it was, but they've cleared themselves now. And now this will be like the final sequence of runs. So there'll be probably a couple of 2 or 3 lap runs in here, depending on if you've got the tyre under you to do it and enough fuel on board. But if you butcher your lap this time around, you're probably going to struggle to get a clean bit of track to get another lap in.
You might get lucky if you do press escape and sort of leave the pits in the next 10 or so seconds. You might get some clear air, because there is a bit of a gap I'm seeing on live races on the pits as we see Colin Warwick move back up to 4th place. A number of runners now on the 102s, with Termo doing a great job with a 102.8 there. But I would expect to see a couple of other runners probably try and sneak their way up. So Brendan Ross probably wants to find a little bit of extra time. Liccardo could probably go a little bit faster.
Scott Stancliffe's just moved up to P4, so he now becomes the lead Kiwi runner at the moment in quali number 2. As he negotiates turn 4, so he's demoted Warwick to 5th, Termo to 6th, Liccardo now they went down to 7th, so there's a little bit of changing there. Look at Rosella, who's currently down at the Sector 1 split, and trying to get a tow here from the traffic that's on an out lap from Cheese to try and get a little bit of assistance going into turn 5, and he's got a bit more traffic in former NZ Snipes. He's on a lap of his, no, he's not on a lap of his own here, he's on an out lap, so he'll let him go past. Or he's actually, no, he won't. He's getting ready to start a lap, so he's at the commitment point here.
He's still within a 10th of a second here, but he's not.
He's wide of the hairpin there. That's the end of his lap.
Yeah, so not Nigel finished that lap, but still to be so close as he's sort of trying to get out of the way of Cheese, and then just gets going again. But yeah, to still like have another lap there, be within a 10th of a second of that time is very, very impressive. And he was actually purple in that middle sector there. On Scott Stancliffe's previous lap, he's actually gone a little bit faster, actually, as has Kurt Stenberg. Scott Stancliffe had actually gone purple in his first sector by a 10th of a second, so he'd absolutely nailed turn 1 through to 3 and 4, but the rest of the lap couldn't quite piece together, but still encouraging signs for Stancliffe.
Absolutely. At the moment, where's Tim Redmond and all this too? He's 15th at the moment, believe it or not, so he's got a lot of work to do. Actually, where is he at the moment? Here he is on screen. and his teammate behind. I guess, oh, no, he's avoided that one there. So Stancliffe with a big swapper on. I was about to say, playing some rear gunner to hold everybody up so Redmond could actually get a half-decent time in. He comes around the final couple of corners here. Mishra shouldn't be an issue for Redmond. Good line at turn 11.
He is up at turn 2 on his own time, but he's not going to be anywhere near the pole time.
No, he's 6th place, so he's got a lot of work to do here. So goes up and demotes Colin Warwick down to the 4th row of the grid. So Kiwi Sim Sports cars 5th and 6th as they currently sit right now. Termo's now gone back in front of Scott Stancliffe, so that's an interesting sign for the CRE Motorsports stable. Lachlan Locke, who's been pretty handy substitute so far this round, is down in 19th, and his 103.7 seems a bit distant compared to everybody else above him at the moment. Higginson is 10th ahead, and Locke only fractionally down on his own PB. Needs to dig a little bit deep here.
You're still not too far. Like, it just shows just how incredibly competitive this series is. That's not a bad lap time that he's put in there, but he finds himself down there, currently down in 19th place. But we do know he can go faster. Dane Liccardo has just improved. Got Brenton Foley up on his own time in the first sector, as is his teammate Brendan Ross. So you would expect a number of changes in these final 20 seconds here. A number of drivers will get another lap in, but time is running out.
This is going to be very close for Lockie Locke if he actually gets another lap in on it. I think he might just miss it. The clock's counting.
Oh no, he'll get there, I reckon.
He might get there by the skin of his teeth. It's
oh no, he won't.
Yeah, is it? Yes or no? I think he maybe just got it by maybe a half a second, so he might be lucky here because there's no checkered flag against his name. He now finds himself 20th. Liccardo's having a moment through the hairpin. He was up at Sector 1, but he's now not at Sector 2, so 8th is the best that he can muster at the moment. Higginson is up as well, and he's taking a really interesting line through the final corner. Or final 2 corners, rather. And what does he do? Because he improved. He did have a little green box next to his name there, and he goes up a spot, only up to 18th. So there's a fair bit of improvement left in that car for him. Colin Warwick, actually late move for Colin Warwick, moves up to 4th. So that actually demotes Termo to 5th and pushes the Kiwis down. So Stancliffe, Redmond, Liccardo, Snipes and Foley all get shuffled down an extra notch. And Rosella remains on the pole with Devonish. Actually, Devonish lowered his benchmark to a 102.098, but still not close enough. Just a 10th and a little bit behind the pole sitter in Luke Rosella. Who else is currently out there? Steve Burko, I think, is still out there at the moment. No, he's done. And Lockie Locke, Ben Hall, Matt Cecil, I think they're just on their way into the pits now. Yes, they are.
That is quite an incredible session. I mean, we've got the top 22 drivers separated by 2 seconds, and even then, like the cars after that are only 2.3, 2.6, and then 3.1 seconds off. So incredibly tight. Especially if you just take the first 2 out of it, you go from Kurt Stenberg all the way down to sort of Brendan Ross in 12th. You know, even down to Scott Nolan. I mean, you've got 0.8 of a second. You've got 10 positions. So all it is just, you know, you slightly get a bad exit coming out of turn 4, or you lock a brake at turn 1 and just miss the apex, so you can't get the run through turn 2 and 3, and you find yourself down 3 or 4 spots. So incredibly competitive, and as we've seen from race number 1, race pace wise, there's again guys slightly out of position here that have got a bit of work to do. Like Brenton Foley, we saw he's definitely not a 10th place car, and Steve Burko, we saw he started around the same spot in race 1, but his race pace was up there with, you know, pretty much anybody outside the top 3. So again, very, very competitive. And then you've got Termo, fantastic effort to be P5 there, so great effort.
Yeah, you're not wrong. And on top of that as well, the field spread, importantly, was 3.1 seconds, and the last man on the list there was Rhodey in 26th place. Of course, Braxton Stancliffe will start rear of grid for this one, so he'll be permitted to jump back into the server, and he'll have to start rear grid. So he's going to be a very fast Kiwi off the back that we're going to have to keep an eye out for this one. But a little bit of an important matter, important to one person on this grid. A little bit earlier today, there was a little tribute that was paid by Ben Hall to a fallen mate of his that actually it's his birthday today, but sadly for him, he passed away 11 months ago. So Ben Hall decided he wanted to get a little bit of extra track time before proceedings started today. And the car running a special livery. Normally it's got Harvey Norman on the side of the car, it's Team Harvey Norman Mustang, but today it's got Luke McHugh Racing on the side of the car in honour of his best mate, who passed away last year. There he is, actually with his folks, receiving an Australia Day nomination as a Young Citizen of the Year. I can't remember what year that was, but it was about, I think it was not that long before he passed, which would have been at the start of 2020, just before all the COVID situation happened. So their love of supercars and their love of racing was something that brought them together when they formed a friendship in high school. And it's one of those things that I think a lot of people have had over the course of their life, but you don't sort of really know how it sort of affects people until you witness it for your own eyes. And there's a couple of other tributes there as well. A happy birthday moniker on the bonnet as well. So the obviously date of birth and the 20th of December was the day that he passed. So we're a couple of days short of the birthday, but it's close enough to the round that this is where it was going to do. And there was also a little bit of extra items on the top of the car as well, on the roof. As you can see it go past, there is a little bit of words written on there as well. And that's coming up in just a few seconds. There it is. So you can see there, no matter how long you've been gone for, we'll never forget your birthday and missing you so much, in loving memory of Luke. And importantly, he said the day that they're meant to be having a drink and a laugh together has been turned into a day of remembrance, which is obviously today. It's really tough to believe that this is one of the first of many birthdays he's not going to be around. There's not a day goes by where he doesn't think about him. He's very grateful for the memories that they'd made together in the short time that they had known each other. He misses him a lot, and until the day that he meets again, he says fly high and happy birthday. And importantly, number 19 on the number on the car, which is the number that he's run all season long and in all of the series that he's been participating in, would have been the age that he would have turned on his birthday today, and that's the number moving forward that Ben uses for all his racing. So bit of a solemn moment for him. I know he's been tearing up with everything. I remember the day he actually came to me, Lewis, and said he was going to take a couple of months off from racing because he just felt he was just in that bad place. And since he's returned, he's actually turned in some really good performances. This year's actually probably been his best year to date, surprisingly.
Yeah, he's certainly improved since that break fizz. I think everybody, regardless of if it's a close friend or family, you sort of do need that little bit of a break, just to sort of refocus and just try and get yourself, back in that right mental state. Because it's always difficult losing someone, really close to you. So he's done a good job, sort of, building on that refocus. And for those that do have a keen eye, he's ran pretty much a very similar livery. He's got that Luke McHugh, Racing, obviously runs under that banner all season long. He's had the stickers on all year, but this, for this race, obviously being his Luke McHugh's birthday, he's put out, all the stops and put in a special livery for him. So hopefully he can have a really good race number 2 here and just sort of top off, what should have been a more sort of celebratory day into, I guess, one that, more befitting of, someone's memory. So best of luck for Ben Hall here in race number 2.
Yeah, he's spot on. I do hope that he has a good run here. He's been doing quite well, as I said, this year. He's had a good couple of results in Super 2. I think there's even a win in the minis, I think, at one point as well, which he was a little bit emotional and teared up about when that happened. Because again, car number 19 was the car number in question that day that got the win. And I think the only thing that I can sort of compare it to when you lose somebody that's very close to you, for me it was 29 years ago. My grandfather, my best friend when I was growing up, having spent a lot of time at my grandparents' place when I was a boy, losing him in 1992 became a very difficult situation and probably the worst day of my life to date that I can think of, losing somebody that close to you. So it's hard for people that sort of think, oh, you lose family, it's always a challenging time. But when you lose someone that you're sort of used to seeing every day, as I was with my pa, and obviously with what Ben Hall was, losing his best mate that he saw every day as well, you don't really fully appreciate how significant it is until it happens to you.
Yeah, you certainly, personally, we've gone through some stuff recently with me and Sarah, quite similar to that, where, you have someone there you see them all the time, and then, whether it be from long-term illness or, something sudden, you just can't, replace, getting used to someone just being there all the time in your life, and then, the next day they're not there anymore, you'll never see them again. So it's certainly a very difficult thing to go through, but he's stuck with it. It can be pretty easy to sort of get down in the dumps and sort of not dig your way out, but he's done a good job of remaining positive, and hopefully, he's able to continue on and do a really good job here and finish strong.
Yep, I agree. And I'll be looking forward to see what he can do in this next race, as Justin Cecil has a little bit of an awkward moment there. And time has expired on this warm-up session, so the limited number of drivers that are on track will find themselves just having to come in the next few seconds or so. And we'll have another 35-lap race to conclude this championship. Big thanks to Brendan Ross. He's actually done the sums for us for this one. And the position that Luke Rosella needs to finish in order for this to seal the deal on match point number 1 is 9th. So a 9th place finish will be enough, regardless if Tim Redmond wins the race. 9th will be enough for Luke Rosella to sew this championship up tonight. So he's done the right thing so far. He's kept out of trouble. He's stayed at the front end of the field, and he finds himself there yet again. So race number 2, race 18 of the 20 race championship. 3 weeks time, field packs up, heads back across the ditch and goes to the streets of Townsville for the decider. So there'll be plenty to play for there, but right now all attention's going to be on car 55 and how the driver of that car handles the next 35 laps.
Yeah, so 35 laps between himself and Immortality. All he's got to do, finish P9 and hope that we don't change to a NASCAR style point system for the final round of the championship. But anyway, Luke Rosella will start once again from pole position with Will Dernish again alongside him. Both those guys blistering pace in qualifying. They've got Kurt Stenberg and Colin Warwick right behind them. That's going to make for a very spicy race. Turmo will start in P5 after a fantastic lap in qualifying. And then the Kiwi Sim Sport right behind him with Scott Stancliffe and Tim Redmond 6th and 7th. And then we have Dane Liccardo, another solid effort in qualifying, P8, just ahead of an improving NZ Snipes. And then Brenton Foley right behind him. He'll be looking to move forward in the race. Same with Steve Burko, who will be starting from P11 in this one, just ahead of Brendan Ross, who'll be hoping not to have a barbecue down here at turn number 5. Scott Nolan will start from 13th place, so he's on the way up as well from race number 1. And qualifying number 1, he's got Freakish right behind him in 14th place. And then we have his teammate Cheese right there in 15th. Ben Hall there, he'll start from 16th in this one. Looking to have a nice strong run here with Steve Warwick right behind him for Black Shores Racing in 17th. Urjit Mishra for All Australian Races, only one of them here tonight. He'll start from 18th place in race number 2. With Nathan Higginson looking to not get us sideways in this one. He'll start from P19. Then we have Lockie Lock, who had a great qualifying 1. Qualifying 2, not quite as prolific in this one. He'll start 20th. Matt Cecil for Kelly Grove Racing. He'll start from 21st position. Cam Rutledge will start from 22nd. With Aiden in the Andre Heimgartner Plus Fitness New Zealand livery starting from 23rd place. Josh Watson starting from 24th. Justin Cecil 25th. Rhodey in 26th, just ahead of Braxton Stancliffe, who didn't do qualifying. And we are 35 laps away here.
Freakish's cockpit. You can see the lights going out, 4 lights, and then away we go for race number 2. Again, good launch, Luke Rosella, no problems. Colin Warwick, great launch. Kurt Stenberg, it's like Michael Schumacher and Mika Hakkinen splitting Ricardo Zonta as they head down into turn 1. And through goes Warwick, through goes Stenberg, and there goes Devonish backwards.
We've got a car off at the back. We've got a car off at the back. I think it's one of the underdeveloped. Both New Zealand
Freakish.
cars.
Yeah, it's Freakish and NZ Snipes have both gone off at turn 1, and they're going to rejoin at the back of the pack. So that's a disaster for 2 of the Kiwi Nissans.
We've got Scott Stancliffe looking to make a move on Devonish already. So Devonish started on the front row. He's going to find himself down a number of spots here. Stancliffe makes the position as Ricardo almost gets rear ends him there.
Yeah, he nearly absolutely arrowed him off at turn 5 there. That was very late on the brakes from Liccardo, lucky not to cause the accident. And now Stancliffe wants position number 3 from Colin Warwick, and in a hurry.
I wonder if we'll see a little bit of tyre saving. We did see some drivers were struggling on their tyres just these first couple of laps just to try and save them for later on in the stint. So Warwick's already dropped a little bit off the back of the front 2, and he's got a fast starting Stancliffe right behind him, and Will Devonish will look to buy into that as soon as possible as well after his poor start. Same with Tim Redmond. They've got a bit of a gap to Liccardo now, and then there's Ross, a bit of a train behind him and Termo.
Yeah, not wrong. And look here, Stenberg already on the inside of Rosella, just muscles his way through at turn 4 and assumes the race lead quickly. Job done. Now got to play defence at turn 5. Oh, there's a car in the back, and that looks like it was another one of the Nissans. It looks like that might have been Cheese.
It's Cheese, unfortunately. So disaster for the underdeveloped team and the development team here.
What's happened there? Let's go back and look at that one on the Smith & Sons replay. That looked like he might have, not sure if he did it all on his own.
I think he did.
I think he might have done it on his own. Just again, the traction control an issue, and here they come through here. So he was already a little bit wide at turn 4, and yep, on his own, just basically straight in the fence.
And while that's been going on, is that Freakish sort of go around and hit the fence again, and he's looped it again. So absolute disaster so far for the Kiwi SimSports underdeveloped team here.
And lucky they've actually not caused a safety car in the whole process as well, just the localised yellows. In comes Cheese to the lane, so the Kiwi flag's going to have to be flown by Scott Stancliffe at this rate with everything going on, and he's third. Actually, no, he's not. He's up the inside on Cole Warwick, so that's a good smart move already, but Cole Warwick has the good drive off of turn 4 and manages to hold. So this is a juicy little pack right now. Stancliffe, line covered. Now that Colin's made his bed there, he's got. Has he been unloaded? Did Stancliffe get unloaded, or he lose it on his own?
I think he was just a little bit. He's trying to go around the outside and left it too late. The car's a little bit unweighted at the back, and he's just lost it, I think.
And now we actually should have used the runoff road there, but he's going to come back on that part of the circuit. So it has become a real struggle for the Kiwis in this one. Want to have a look at this one from the Stancliffe point of view. Let's go on board and let's see what happens. So Warwick covered, that was fine. Oh yeah, tyres were on the grass. He was too far wide, way too far gone.
Yeah, so big disaster for the Kiwis so far. And now Tim Redmond flying the flag. While this is going on, they've got Devonish having a look at the inside at turn 1 on Colin Warwick as Brenton Foley sets the fastest lap of the race.
And Devonish is through, so good smart move from Devonish, but he's got to play the defence now, got to get the drive, and he does. And this now brings Redmond into play. It brings Liccardo into play. And Foley is that Foley? No, it's Ross. Brendan Ross is not too far away either. So Devonish has now got to just put it down the middle of the road, just right in the braking zone, and just encourage Tim Redmond to have a little bit of a go here.
Oh, it's contact between Devonish and Warwick there. Warwick just having a look up the inside, and that's allowing the front 2 to get away with the front 2 at the moment. I don't think they're racing at full speed. I reckon they may be just playing a little bit of the long game here, because I'd expect those guys with this battle pack going on and raging to be just driving away from them here. So perhaps a little bit of tactics and strategy going on there, but at the moment Devonish has got a little bit of a break on Warwick, and he'll be just eyes forward now looking to get away, while Warwick now will be the one having to look out for Tim Redmond and Liccardo in his mirrors.
Yeah, spot on there. We have lost Termo in all of this as well on lap 1, so I'm not quite sure what's happened to Termo in all of this, whether it's an accident of some nature or whether it's a disconnect. It appears that it's actually a DNF just straight up, so there's something going on there for CRE Motorsports, so no points there as a bit of Kiwi pride at stake here. NZ Snipes has actually rounded up Scott Stancliffe there. He's now gone a lap down to the field. Him and Cheese have already gone a lap down with having to stop. And there's a bit of an angry pack forming back here. Devonish kicking away now.
We've got Rosella having a look at Stenberg, but Scott Stancliffe did come into the pit, so he must have picked up some damage from that incident down there at turn 4-5 there.
Yeah, I think he has. He did have a little bit of front end damage, I think, there as well. The car was nose into the fence when he was in the run-off road, so he has repaired that damage as Rosella goes through, still chasing Stenberg. These guys are in the 103s, 103.3, 103.2. Stenberg fastest lap of the race a couple of laps ago, 102.974. Not on the same sort of pace that we had in race 1, but still tracking along quite nicely. And there you can see the queue behind them starting to fan out.
Did have Devonish on his last lap did do a personal best and did pull in a few tenths on the guys in front here.
There's a little bit more shenanigans going on. Looks like Higginson's gone around at turn number 4, so he's the second or third driver to do that. Yeah, there he is, just recovering. So a few drivers just trying to push the limits a little bit too hard in this one, as all the drivers that have had some incidents in the last couple of laps go sailing on by. Not going to sailing right past the corner apex at turn 5 there as well.
Yeah, went and had a look. A little bit of Leadfoot Larry again for Higginson there. Just gassed it up a little bit too much on the exit of 4 there. Very easy to do. And another victim down there. And Devonish again just edging about a tenth or two closer to the cars in front. So wonderful to see those guys just start to battle a little bit more as they want to try and break away. But Rosella right out sideways.
Here we go. Good little battle happening here as well. So Braxton Stancliffe in the back of the field, very briefly held P11. Ben Hall snatches that one away from him at turn number 1. A little bit sideways off the corner, pushing really hard. Likewise, Scott Stancliffe behind, pushing very hard as well. All sorts of sideways at turn 4. There's a good drive from Braxton Stancliffe so far, up inside the up into 12th at the moment, as Higginson's now officially retired, putting the pressure on the Luke McHugh Racing Mustang and very nearly forcing an error.
He's done a really good job to pull that car up and not completely lose the rear end there, and he's still held position, at least for now. So he's holding on for dear life here, Ben Hall. Might just be a little bit smarter here just to play the long game here, because of the way it's going, looks like there may be a little bit of attrition in this one with drivers already making a number of mistakes. So if he can just keep it on the island, even if he does lose out to Braxton Stancliffe here, long term, it might be better for him to just let him go and just concentrate on his own race. Yeah,
you read my mind perfectly there, Lewis. It's a simple case of if the faster car's there, if you're struggling to fight, now's not the time to be fighting. You've actually just got to let him go and maybe let him drag you along, because the next man up the road, you can just see him there in the number 18 Synergy Sim Racing Mustang, is Scott Nolan, who's had a quiet start in this race, but all the attrition has helped him move into the top 10. So there is a top 10 that beckons for a couple of these drivers back here that are boxing on right now, but probably shouldn't be boxing on.
Especially, like, there's guys out in front of him here. Like, there's a number of battle packs in the top 10 already where you could pretty much expect fireworks with some of the drivers involved in it, and they could find themselves once again back down the field. So if you're a little bit further down, you're on the fringe of that top 10, just play the long game here, and you could find yourself, with a really good result here. So Ben Hall, Stancliffe, even Misha, who hasn't had an ideal round so far, and even Steve Warwick as well, they can pick up a good result here.
Oops,
if they
Scott
just keep it clean.
Stancliffe around in the background. Sorry to cut you off there, Lewis. Scott Stancliffe around the background to hairpin. So this race has started to unfold rather nastily for him at the moment, as Ben Hall actually is driving away here from Braxton Stancliffe, so that's an interesting situation for him at the moment. That's actually leaving Braxton Stancliffe to try and fend off Urgent Mishra, and Mishra with a move there, and a little bit of contact between the two of them, but they'll address that one there, and they will get going again.
Exactly what Ben Hall wants, as well as Steve Warwick and NZ Snipes. So Snipes has actually recovered quite nicely in 15th after being right at the back of the field. So he's doing a good job fighting his way back. But also at the front now, Devonish within a second of the race lead. So it's all starting to kick off as we head into lap 10.
Yeah, he's right on Luke Brazella's hammer here. So he was on his hammer very early in race number 1, but then made the mistake down at 4. And Rosella wide again, drops the 2 left-hand side tyres in the grass. And that might give a little bit of an incentive for Devonish. It wasn't that far off his best lap there. Look at that. He was 5/1000 slower than his best lap that time around. So got the bit between the teeth here. And this top 3, very, very important now in terms of race wins and who has the upper hand in terms of winning things here. Actually, just do my my math here. Has Will Devonish got a win all year?
Well, I actually don't know. I would have thought he would have had one, but I'm not actually entirely sure.
I'm trying to remember off the top of my head now. It's been a while if it has between drinks for Will Devonish. I know he's got quite a number of pole positions here. We'll have to go back and do the math to try and work that one out.
Because, well, we had Damon Woods and Luke Rosella, or Kurt Stenberg or Luke Rosella, I can't remember, win at Sydney Motorsport Park, and Luke Rosella win at Calder.
Actually, he does. Yes, he did. He had a win. He's got at least 2-3 wins on the season. I'm looking now. He had one at Adelaide, one at Symmons Plains, another at was it here? Another one at I think at Barbagallo. He got one as well. So he's actually got 3 wins for the year. So it's been a while. It's actually been since round 5 since he's had a win.
Yeah, it's a long, long time ago. He probably doesn't even remember what it's like to have a win in this series. It's been that long.
It's been dominated by Will. It's been dominated by Stenberg and Rosella since, mainly Rosella having a really good purple patch of form and trying to secure the title, because Devonish had a few shockers. Now, he got checked up there. You can see that there. Rosella just had a bit of a slow moment through turn 6, and that checked Devonish up, and that just got him a little bit of an air gap, as he was just a little bit too close. And this is something that a little bit of driver coaching probably doesn't sort of go astray. You've got to learn to follow. So you learn to sort of just coast into the braking zones a little bit earlier. You don't have to use so much braking. It's all about maintaining your gap, because right there he was too close at the time he needed to apply the brakes, and then got checked up and then lost all that ground. So it didn't go according to plan, being buried right under the rear wing of the Mustang in front.
Well, he tried showing his nose into that corner, and Rosella, being so far ahead at that point, he's always going to turn in. And when you see someone turn in like that, you either commit to just driving into the back of him, or you slow down and check yourself up. So, yeah, you sort of just realise that, yeah, probably not close enough to, demand that inside, part of that corner at turn 6. Try and set it up for the hairpin, because that's where you're going to get the pass done more often than not. Because he is able to carry more speed through 5, but he just hasn't been close enough to demand that inside line at 6. So better off trying to get that run here at the hairpin, where, you can be a lot more decisive with it and, carry that better run through 5 to set something up for a much easier move, and, something where you're not going to have to lean on the car in front as much.
Appears he's got some pace in hand as well. I think it's pretty clear that he's got some race pace in hand at the moment as well. So maybe you've got to think about strategy game here, the long strategy play. Just looking to see where he would feed out back into the track. I think it's about 50 odd seconds through the lane. So right now he probably would come out into some clear air if he did, but there would be a lot of other cars in front of him that he would be praying would have to actually stop. So he's got to pull the trigger, and he's got to pull the trigger at the right time. That's the hard bit for Will Devonish to go on board again with CRE number 15 entry. Sponsored with Lifeblood all year, and I know that that's to do with a lot of the work that he does in one of the nursing homes, and give blood, everybody generously please. It's a commodity that's in a lot of short supply at the moment.
And you got Rosella, had a good run out of 4, but wasn't quite close enough to have a move. But he's all over the back of Stenberg now, and moving all over the place to try and get a move done. That's also encouraged Devonish to get a lot closer. Now, who will be the first to blink here?
Oh, there's a car off the road. Colin Warwick's off the road at the hairpin. Sorry, Lewis. He's had a moment, and he's gone off the road at the hairpin. He's going to drop a bunch of spots here. He's now going to rejoin in 9th. Let's have a look at what happened to Colin Warwick on the Smith & Sons replay.
He just lost it.
Oh, he's lost it on the approach. Oh, he actually lost it on the approach to 5. He had a moment there, and then
you've gone quiet there. But, yeah, just coming out of the corner, just a little bit of an overcorrection there. And he's just gone around and into the fence. So probably expect him to come into the pits pretty early.
He's in now, so he's pulled the trigger on that one. Sorry, I just had a cat jump on my lap and hit the button that says mute. So the prompt cat has been removed. Back to the front.
And once again, nuts to butt stuff here at the front. They've got a handy gap over Tim Redmond, who's also trying to fend off Liccardo as well. But if I was Luke Rosella or Will Devonish here, I'd be boxing and just getting a lap or two in clear air and jumping ahead. Particularly if I was Will in this situation, has been quicker in the race so far. Why not just give yourself a better chance, get that track position, and then it's all about just trying to hold on from there as opposed to trying to figure out a way to get by here.
Yeah, I think so too. We have actually lost Scott Stancliffe on lap 6. That little spin that he had down at the hairpin, you saw him back a shot, has unfortunately rendered the DNF for him. I think he's probably just a bit frustrated with how things have gone tonight all in all. So I guess it gives a bit of a stock take of what's happening with the Kiwis at the home track. So with Scott Stancliffe out of this one, Tim Redmond currently is P4 on the road. He's Cole Warwick now obviously a lap down to the race leaders, but Redmond being trailed by Dane Liccardo at the moment. Very measured drive from Liccardo. I think he's playing his cards right for this one at the moment as he slowly comes up to the pit stop.
Warwick off in front of him.
Yeah,
Got Warwick off in front of him.
Yeah, they have again too. We had another moment there at turn 5. So that's the second time for Cole Warwick, and he's got to be careful here too because he'll be getting blue flags. There's a lock up from Warwick, and down the inside goes Redmond. But this is starting to become infuriating here because he's a lap down and should be letting these guys go through. So I wouldn't be surprised to see stewards come along very shortly and say there's a failure to adhere to blue flags here. He's not exactly driving away from Redmond, and there's a little bit of argy-bargy and a little bit of angst going on here, and now it's just got to be cool heads, let it settle down, and worry about it a little bit later.
Of course, he did have that pit stop, so he's on better tyres than these guys, but at the same time, it is, he's a lap down and probably should get out of the way, but he doesn't want to get out of the way because he could potentially be racing them after the pit stop sequence. So that's why he's trying to hold on here, but yeah, I'm sure the guys behind probably not too happy, but they probably don't realise the situation they're in, that they probably will race him later on in the race if he keeps it on the track. So they've got to try and find a way by him here.
That's spot on. Now there's a couple of callers on pit road. Looks like Matt Cecil has brought the Penrite Mustang into pit lane. What about any of these drivers? Do they decide to come in this time? No, they don't. Continue to look through the field with the Kiwis. NZ Snipes is now locked in combat here with Ben Hall. He's actually just passed Ben Hall around the outside at 6, so that's a position for Snipes. It puts the Q Racing Mustang down soothing, and here comes Steve Burko. So this is the first of the proper drivers in the top 10 to pit. Colin Warwick obviously pit because he was in the 10, but by virtue of having the accident, here comes Ben Hall back a shot, so he's in as well. So these guys are just short of half distance, but probably looking to get a net gain. This worked for Burko last time, but he wasn't really close enough to a lot of other drivers. So he's racing the likes of Scott Nolan at the moment.
We've had Devonish get ahead of Luke Rosella, and he's also got his pit cog and pit crew getting ready. So might be a good call here. He's got himself up to second. Might as well pit a lap early in these guys if he can and try and get an undercut as we get a drive through for Matt Cecil.
Yep, pit lane speeding and well called again, Lewis. Here comes Will Devonish. So this is pretty much right on the half distance mark for him. Gets it stopped before the line very nicely. And now this has got to be important. So what are the race leaders up to at the moment? The race leaders go through. They've just rounded up. Oh no! And there's been Scott Nolan's off at the. Where's that? That's at the final at the hairpin. So.
Also had Brendan Ross go into the pits, and I think he's going to get pinged for speeding in the pit lane. Just couldn't quite pull it up at the same time as well.
Orchard Mishra and Nolan both locking up. Nolan's actually got a puncture on the front left, so he'll be lucky not to get a pit lane speeding infringement there as well. But a lot of drivers in the lane. So Devonish in. There's Brendan Ross, as you said. Aiden in the Nissan is just trundling down the lane here as well. Where's our race leaders? Are they actually starting to come across some traffic? They've rounded up Steve Burko. They have got a little bit of clear track, so they can afford to pick up the pace here. Devonish will get out without losing a lap quite comfortably. Going to get out ahead of Rhodey. So that's a well-timed stop, and the leaders are in.
And Rosella hasn't called his pit crew here, so he may cost himself a little bit of time here.
Lock up for Stenberg as well, but he should be okay with that one. Looked like there is a pit lane speeding tolerance of a K or two. So these guys are now in, and the real interesting part in this is what about Will Devonish? Where does he come out in all of this? And what about Tim Redmond? So Redmond is third on the road. He's actually come into the lane with the leaders.
So Devonish has actually got Aiden and Justin Cecil in front of him here. He's just going through the chicane at 5 and 6. He will catch up to the back of Aiden at the hairpin here.
It's a very busy pit lane too as well. Have a look at everybody arriving and departing. There goes Lachlan Lock and the Nissan belonging to Josh Watson. And oh, there was a very near miss there as well, as Rosella was exiting as Foley was coming in. Right, now onto Will Devonish. What happens here? He's coming around the final corner, and Stenberg and Rosella at the pit exit.
He's going to get him momentum, I reckon.
No, he'll get Rosella comfortably, but he's got to get Stenberg. Got to go the long way around the outside, and he gets it done.
Yep, so he had the momentum.
Just, only
one
just.
or two laps. That 1 or 2 laps is all he needed just to get that clear air. Now he's got to make those tyres last to the end of the race, and he's got to make sure that he doesn't give Stenberg and Rosella a good run later on in that race. But strategy call has worked out perfectly. Now he's just got to keep it on the black stuff and hold on for dear life.
He just made that work, and the outlap was all that it was. Right, that was a simple fact of the matter was the in-lap was fine, the outlap was very, very fast, and Rosella and Stenberg just didn't pick up the pace enough to avoid being jumped. Rosella had already been passed, but Stenberg didn't quite pick up the pace enough to mitigate the risk of being jumped. So the effective race lead belongs to Will Devonish. You can see now that Cam Rutledge has taken to the lane, and the only other man that's yet to stop, I believe, is Braxton Stancliffe, and he's just down at the turn 2, 3, 4 chicane now. So he's still got to come in and serve his mandatory stop. I dare say he'll probably be in the next lap or two.
And his last lap wasn't very good at all. It was a 106.0. So his tyres, there's not much left on them. But Will Devonish, the effective race leader. We did see after the pit stops in the first race that both Stenberg and Rosella did pick up the pace quite a bit. So this race certainly isn't over. And Stenberg just in that slipstream range as well. But they're going to have lap traffic. It will be a factor here. Whoever gets, the luckiest will probably end up out on top here.
Yep, you're spot on. So it's Stancliffe, the only one to come into the lane here. There's a little bit of lap traffic. Lachlan Lock and Josh Watson are still out there on the circuit. They have stopped, but they're going to go a lap down to the leaders here. Now Stancliffe is going around again. Yes, he is. So he's actually going quite long on this. What was his time that time around? It was a 5.2, so it was a little bit better as we get a new fastest lap of the race for Luke Rosella. 102.556. Again, not quite the circuit lap record, but definitely picking up the pace appreciably.
Yeah, edging ever closer to that lap record, but these guys are very hot pace. His front three now about 12 seconds ahead, or 10 seconds ahead of Tim Redmond, who isn't going slowly. And he's actually just edged away from Liccardo these last couple of laps. But lap traffic at the moment is key as Stenberg finds himself behind Josh Watson. And Will Devonish finds himself behind Lockie Lock, who's making a move on Braxton Stancliffe, who of course is the race leader, but he's got no tyres left.
No, he doesn't. You can see Liccardo there was chasing Tim Redmond for what is currently 5th place. Now Lockie Lock gets out of the way, but on top of that, Stenberg, they're all having to round everybody up. So Braxton Stancliffe had to basically try and disappear, and he couldn't quite disappear, and he's had a little bit of a moment at a very awkward spot, and Stenberg did a great job to try and avoid that, and now gets through on Mark Winterbottom car 18. So Stancliffe currently 3rd in the running order, but effectively will be a lot further down the field, and yeah, definitely has to pit here. Surely he didn't take hard tyres in here for this one and is trying to go long, because I don't think it serves any purpose.
Probably around this track, the lap time just isn't worth it. And because the soft tyre can go past halfway, there's just no point putting the hard tyre on here. So I'm not really sure what strategy he's playing, but obviously just trying to play the super long game, perhaps banking on a late race safety car. So he has some really good tyres at the end of the race to sort of bonsai his way through the field. But it looks like he's coming in at the end of this lap. But even on this lap here, clear air for the leaders. Stenberg and Rosella have been able to close up. So that gap, these front three, battle royale until the end.
Stancliffe in, as you rightly call it as well. So that takes care of that little biggie, and he's into the lane. Rosella very wide at the final corner in pursuit of Devonish and Stenberg, and he will have probably got, I wouldn't be surprised if he got a track cut for that one. He did a 2.7 that time around, but was very out of shape at the final corner, but he's pushing super, super hard here.
Actually, it was Stenberg on the last lap that picked up a track cut. I didn't see a time next to his name, and it was a 2.7 as well for Devonish. So the pace is hot, and again, like there's so little between these guys at the moment. I can't really see there being a change of position until the tyres just start to fall away, or lap traffic balks one of these guys, and either gives a bit of a gap to Devonish or to Stenberg behind with Rosella, or sort of prevents one of these guys from getting a good run, and you see a pass made after that. So traffic going to be key, as is the tyres. Obviously 1 lap extra that Devonish is going to have to do on his set, while Stenberg and Rosella will have slightly better tyres. But it's very, very close here. Bumper to splitter stuff, and Devonish at the moment holding on.
Might be a move on here at turn 1 if Stenberg gets a good run here. Rosella low, goes to the lap record. So the lap record goes, and it goes to Luke Rosella now with a 2:3.26. So surpasses the old record of a 1:02.4. And now new race lap record and a circuit lap record for ASR. So he's finally got one of them tonight. There is some traffic that's going to play a factor here in this one. So Justin Cecil up the road here, and then Braxton Stancliffe has just exited the pit. So he's got some new tyres on, so should be able to run with a bit of pace. And that's a really awkward spot for Justin Cecil again to try and disappear, but he's done a pretty good job in the Hyper 6 Sport Mustang to get out of that one and let these leaders through. This pace is absolutely rampant. I wouldn't say it's hot, Lewis. I'd say it's rampant. These guys are just trading blow for blow at the moment.
Yeah, surface of the sun stuff out there at the moment. I mean, these guys are blowing everyone else away, and they're battling with each other. As again, looks like Stenberg a lot stronger at that final corner, but he can't quite get that run out of turn 4 here. So turn 1 probably later on in the race is where he'll look to get that move done here. But very, very tight stuff between our leaders, and it's all going to be about who can get the good run off here at 4, and a little bit of a slide for Devonish, but Stenberg is wide at the same time, so I guess it's a stalemate at this stage.
Yeah, it is a bit of a stalemate, and it's the only really close battle on track as well. The only other battles that we've been looking at have been the Tim Redmond and Dane Liccardo battle, and that's actually sort of started to break its back. So Redmond, I think, has slowly started to edge away from Liccardo here. He's got the gap out to around a 1.5 seconds, as it's a drive-through penalty for Benjamin Roddy Rhodes, and I think that's going to be for track infringements. He's out there on the circuit at the moment, so he'll do a drive-through for that.
And, once again, through the final section, Will can't quite get his nose into the final right-hander, but Stenberg just a little bit wide, so the TTR car just a little bit stronger in the final sector, but Will able to get the drive off of turn 4. Looks like Rosella's the fastest through the flip-flop there at 5 and 6, but he hasn't been close enough to sort of use that advantage.
At the moment, and now Braxton Stancliffe starts to become a bit of draft assistance for Will Devonish, but he then also becomes an obstacle for him to lap. Probably in the next 2 minutes, I would say, if he manages to range up on the back of him. He'll probably have the blue flags right about now. And then Freakish is the next man up ahead of Braxton Stancliffe. So these guys have both been in the wars. Good job for Braxton Stancliffe just to get out of the way there once the chicane was negotiated. And he needs to just sort of stay in line here. Oh, and there's some contact, a little bit of bump and run there, but nothing too bad there. But he's a little bit upset with it. I can probably understand why, but you've got to be very, very careful at that part of the circuit when you're trying to lap other traffic, and that just gives Devonish a very small amount of breathing room, at least for 1 lap.
It's spilked Rosella the most out of all of this so far. He's still stuck behind him here, and doesn't look like Stancliffe going to get out of the way, but these guys still in the 102s out there, so that means that Braxton isn't going slowly either. And they've got Freakish there trying his best to get out of the way as we get Stenberg a big slide out of turn 4. But Rosella, I think, just out of this one at the moment. But Stenberg and Devonish still very much locked in a battle for the win.
Yeah, that's badly compromised Luke Rosella here. He's got to get past not only 1 lap car, but another lap car as well. Now, this is hurting him, but he doesn't need to do anything silly. This is the important thing. Now he tries to stick his nose down the inside there on Braxton Stancliffe at 6, and now probably needs to do it at 8. Oh, and there's a bit of an issue there too, and that's... Braxton tried to turn him for the corner, and Luke Rosella was right there, so that's a little bit of an interesting situation, and he's fighting this one. I don't understand why he is. He probably needs to just cool the jets a little bit and see what happens here, but he's boxing on with him. I don't know why he's doing this. This is
Yeah.
rather unusual, and this could end in tears very, very early if we're not careful here.
I mean, he does have the fresher tyres out of all of them, but, you know, it's not 4 positions. So, and these guys are the leaders, so you should just let them go and then just sit in behind them, really. Unless you can drive away from them, you know, fight them. And again, he's going.
Oh, Devenish around!
is around.
Devenish around. Did he get help or did he do that on his own? Because Stenberg was right on his hammer as they came through turn number 4. So we'll get a bit more of an angle on this. We were focused in on the battle with Rosella trying to get past the lap traffic of Braxton Stancliffe, but is it a pressure situation as Stancliffe has now been issued a drive-through penalty for track infringements? There was a bit of bumping and stuff there as well. That doesn't look good from that angle, but I think there's a little bit to play out in that. So we'll see how that folds up in the stewards' rooms after this, but there might be maybe a little bit of trouble there, maybe for Kurt Stenberg, but I need to see it from another angle to probably comment a little bit further.
Yeah, I think there may have been a slight bit of contact, but again, I mean, he's trying to get a good run off of that corner, and it can just be a little bit awkward at times. So yeah, that's certainly going to be something I'm sure that'll be looked at later on. Unfortunate for Will, but still a battle with Rosella not too far behind Kurt Stenberg. And now it's going to be interesting, actually. Final position on the podium, Redmond and Liccardo got about 2 seconds. Ricardo's not had a podium in the main game, and there's a big carrot right in front of him, and Brendan Ross having his best run of the season, or one of his best runs of the season so far, not too far behind there in P5 either.
Yeah, you're not wrong, and this is the top 3 at the moment is the same top 3 from race 1 as it currently sits right now. So just by a cruel twist of fate, it happens to be Redmond in P3, Rosella in P2, and Stenberg in P1. So Liccardo needs to pull his socks up now. He really needs to pull his socks up now. He was 3/10 quicker in Sector 1. He pretty much matched Redmond through Sector 2, and he really needs to get a wriggle on in the last few laps. He's got 6 more laps to do it. What are the times this time across the line? So Redmond is at a 103.6. Liccardo was a 103.2. So the 4/10 of a second gain there, and the gap is 1.5 seconds.
There's a little bit of traffic here, and Justin Cecil's not had an ideal run through the first chicane there, so it will balk Redmond just a little bit. And that gap now, it's not much at all, 1.4 seconds, and it was 2 seconds, you know, just a lap ago. So all to play for here for 3rd place, as Braxton's got himself another penalty. And we've also got Luke Roselle's actually closed in a little bit as well on Kurt Stenberg. So it's spread out a little bit, but it's still, you know, a couple of spot fires here and there to make it interesting.
Seeing a comment in the live stream chat potentially as well. Looks like someone's been going off and looking at a few Twitch streams to see what's going on, and if that is the case, it is very disappointing with regards to the incident we saw a couple of laps ago, but we'll worry about that a little bit later on. Not for discussion now, but you're right, if it's there was a bit of contact there, then there's a bit of an interesting thing, so we'll see what happens there. Redmond has got to turn some good laps. 3-3 for Redmond that time around, 3-5 for Liccardo. So Redmond responding here.
And so Liccardo still not too far away from his personal best, but Redmond has gone quite a bit quicker in his, earlier on in his race. But the gap still, actually, Liccardo's made up 3/10 in that first sector to bring it down to 1.4 seconds again. So that first sector, Liccardo's able to hit it pretty good. On the last lap, though, Redmond through this middle sector did have the slipstream from Justin Cecil that Brendan Ross is getting right now, so that may have helped him just a little bit, but not too far away.
Potential pass for the lead down at turn 8, and Stenberg holds on for a little bit here, so these guys know each other fairly well from their Enduro Cup win. They did team up to win that overall, so they know what each other does, and I have seen them, I think, in the Discord chat today as well, that they're sharing Discord chats, and they'll be communicating with each other. They won't do anything silly here, but they just got to get through the field and through the traffic, and they've only got 4 laps to go. And as it stands right now, it becomes a fait accompli for Luke Rosella if everything goes the way that it does, barring any penalties or disasters for him. It's looking set that one hand on the ASR Supercars Championship trophy will become 2 in a few minutes' time.
Yeah, so it's just got a few laps to go, but he'll want to wrap it up with a win. And he's not far away here, but Stenberg just gets the better exit coming out of 6. and they'll be able to hold on at least for this lap. But they do have Cheese and that's Steve Warwick just down the road in front of them, which may play into Rosella's favour, but it also may play into Stenberg's favour, depending on how it goes.
There's a couple of other small, I guess, battle packs at the moment, but they really aren't getting any tighter, or they're not really getting any bigger either. The whole race has really sort of settled down. It's really just the business out in front at the moment that's going on. And the only other thing to hear is Cole Warwick has actually sort of caught him between Redmond and Liccardo. Again, the blue flags for Dane Liccardo. Again, the different driver performances and stuff. And I guess the thing with blue flags is if you're getting them, the obligation is to get out of the way, as Liccardo's made a mistake there at turn 3, and that probably will render his charge for the podium effectively over. But with the blue flags, Lewis, I guess it's an obligatory flag to get out of the way if there's a faster car behind. But that being said, if you have the pace and you can drive away from the car in front, then there's no issue. But if you're at a sustained gap, then realistically it should be a case of obey and move.
Yeah, if you can only just match the cars behind you, or if you're just a little bit slower, then you really should be getting out of the way, because you're just hurting the leaders and you're not really gaining any time yourself. So Colin Warwick, speaking of, he has just pitted, I think, for the second time, so that's why he's sort of come out between Tim Redmond and Dane Liccardo, and that's why he's also zoomed up to the back of Tim Redmond as well.
Yeah, so he's got good tyres, and that's why he's driven away from Dane, who I think has now realised that the gig is up. Now for Cole Warwick, he's actually trying to make position here as well, because Freakish in P14.
We've got to change. We've got to battle for the lead here. Rosella up the inside at 5, and he's going to block at 6. But Stenberg going to try and get the run out at the hairpin, but he's just got a little bit of wheel spin that's compromising him a little bit. Rosella's sideways, blocks a little bit, but Stenberg back up the inside. Now it's all about who gets the best drag, and I don't know if it's going to be Rosella there, but they're going to go side by side here through the final few corners here, but Stenberg sweeps just ahead.
Just ahead for the minute. He'll have the line here. If he can stay on the inside, he'll cut off the avenue for Rosella, and he does just that. So great exchange. And they now head down to the first corner for the final time. There's a little bit of overlap here, so Stenberg's got to leave him the room, so the race win isn't over. But this is a very, very tight finish to race 18 of the championship. Through the turn 4 and onto the back straight. Now Rosella in position here, maybe to try and make the same move again down at turn 5. As he pulls to the inside and have the look here, he does, just for a brief moment. Stenberg's awake to it. Oh, Stenberg loose though.
Slide.
Massive slide, and the gap that Rosella tried to go for just closed very, very quickly. So it wasn't quite there for him to make that move, and that is probably the last opportunity he would have had to get this race win.
Yeah, I think he's just a smidge too impatient there. He wasn't quite close enough to just send it up the inside, and actually balked him on the exit, so he couldn't make a run at the hairpin. So Stenberg, barring catastrophic failure here at the final corner, will come home and claim the win, with Rosella claiming the championship for 2021. So fantastic drive from Rosella all season long, and Tim Redmond will claim a podium on home soil, with Liccardo coming home a very solid P4. Great drive from him and from Brendan Ross, who'll claim P5 for PBF Race Engineering.
PBF will be 5th and 6th as well. So Foley's managed to hold off a charging Will Devonish at the end there for 6th and 7th. And then Burko, another good strong run from him. So he had pace in race 1, and it had a bit of a bad finish, and in race 2 drives from 11th to 8th. So good points for Loose Simsport again there. So the Simsport cars finished 4th and 8th on the road. That'll be good for them in the team's championship. Orjit Mishra, that's a good top 10 for him. He was nowhere at the start of the night, so he's come on strong as the night's gone on and finishes 9th. And then Scott Nolan actually makes it 2 Synergy Sim Racing Mustangs in the top 10. And that's important, because Lachlan Locke, who was a substitute for Pete Savage, actually finishes 16th. So 7th and 16th in terms of points allocation versus 2nd and 10th for Synergy Sim Racing in that one. So there'll be a little bit of points changing in that between now and the next round in 3 weeks' time. NZ Snipes just misses out on the top 10 there, gets to 11th. Ben Hall is a good solid drive, up 4 spots in the tribute livery for Lit McHugh Racing and Team Harvey Norman. And then Steve Warwick for 13th, Colin Warwick 14th, and then the rest of them all, the Kiwis doing their burnouts and that then here. So Freakish 15th, Lachlan Locke 16th, as we said. There's Josh Watson in there. He finished 18th, split by Justin Cecil. And then Cam Rutledge for 19th, and she's in 20th. And the last of the classified finishers, Aiden in 21st. Matt Cecil, Braxton Stancliffe with a lot of penalties in that one. I'm not sure what happened there, probably just pushed a bit too hard. And Rhodey was the last classified finisher in 24th. And the 3 that DNF, Scott Stancliffe at lap 6, Nathan Higginson at lap 5, and Termo at lap 1. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. There is your, well, there was for a few seconds, your 2021 ASR Supercars champion Luke Rosella. So he does it with a round to spare, which is the same thing that Kurt Stenberg did last season. He wrapped it up quite comfortably with a round to spare, and he actually had quite a whopping points gap at the end of it all. So now the real interest becomes, what about P2, 3, 4 in the championship? That'll be the talking point heading into the final round at Townsville, Lewis.
Yeah, so all those positions still up for grabs, and pretty close between them. I'll have to have another look at the document to see just how close it is between them. But plenty up for grabs for second, third, fourth there, and you also got a few other positions there in the tail end of the top 10 that can still be decided as well. And then you got the teams championship that's really close. So still plenty to play for in the final round in a few weeks' time.
Yeah, spot on. So there's a lot on the team's titles. There's a lot on the drivers' titles as well, as the drivers start to filter their way into to the commentary box here for some interviews. We might save our second place man for last year, I think, Lewis, because obviously of the situation that's unfolded. But we will go to podium interviews, and actually let's start with Tim Redmond. It's something, I guess, pride's been salvaged a little bit here for the Kiwis on home soil. At least they got one man on the podium tonight.
Yeah, they certainly have. Obviously, they would have wanted to do a little bit better. And early on in race 2, Tim, it wasn't looking too good for the Kiwis with Scott, your teammate, not having a particularly good run, and then had all the underdeveloped cars ending off the road on the first and second laps there. But you've come through a fairly sort of chaotic opening stanza and late stanza there as well to claim third place. You weren't quite there, or couldn't quite pull it off in race 1, but race 2, you're able to fend off Dane for the podium, and you're also able to fend off Cole as well. So I just talk us through pretty much just the battle early on, and then the fight at the end to try and fend off Dane for that final spot on the podium.
Yeah, thanks, Lewis. It was definitely fairly chaotic tonight, that's for sure. As you mentioned early on, didn't get the best of qualifying, so we didn't get the greatest launch off the line either. I think we managed to maybe gain a spot, and a little bit unlike me, but it's what it is. So you have to sort of learn and carry on. We just managed to just keep it clean. As you say, it was chaotic, so there was a lot of commotion going on, both in front and behind. A surprise, no safety cars as a result of that, but a little bit of a beneficiary of some rotten luck, I think. Obviously, prefer not to be on the podium as a result of luck, but it is what it is for us today. We'll take the points. And the fight with Dan was really, really good fun. He definitely had pace, and he definitely stuck with me for a good long way. And started peeling off sort of, I think maybe 6 or 7 laps from the end, and then we ran into some lap traffic there, which I think may have impeded him a little bit, but hopefully not too much. And we managed to just build a little bit of gap there and bring it home nice and clean for third place. So fairly happy, as I say, for a third place, and it's nice to be here. But just a shame it's as a result of some rotten luck.
Yeah, bit of rotten luck for others, but still bit of luck for you, and you got to earn your luck and you make your luck to a certain degree as well. And you find yourself still holding on to second place in the championship. How do you find the Townsville circuit in a few weeks' time? Because obviously you have a very good opportunity still sitting in second place to come home second, despite not really troubling for a win all that often. So you've been consistent all year, but how's Townsville treated you in the past?
To be honest, Townsville hasn't been the best of friends with me in the past. So I've definitely got some work ahead of me to try and set myself up for a bit of pace around Townsville. So I am looking forward to it. As you say, still in second, which is both a surprise but also great to hear. So yeah, just looking to bring it home the same way I have all season, and that's being it smooth, consistent, and being there or thereabouts. So that's my goal, to finish strongly.
Well done on a podium position on home soil, and best of luck next time out at the Reed Park circuit.
Awesome. Thanks, Lewis.
All right. Well, we might as well once again. We'll wait and speak to the champion a little bit after, but we'll speak to our race winner here in race number 2. Kurt, it was a very spirited battle between yourself and Luke, and then later on between yourself, Luke, and Will. Bit of strategy involved. Were you always going to try and go that one lap longer to have that better tyre life in the end, or were you just just playing it as it went out there?
That was the goal. After the first race, I realised I needed the extra lap because I couldn't rely on the luck of the safety car again. And yeah, that's what we went for. And we got undercut there by Will. And I took the opportunity when Luke ran wide at the start there to get past him. And I think he probably had better pace than me, but I wasn't letting him pass, that's for sure.
Yeah, you certainly made him earn it, or try and earn it, and yeah, he certainly made you sort of earn the win there. You got, as you mentioned there, you did get undercut in the pit stop sequence, but it did seem after sort of that first sector where Will did have that a bit of a time advantage. You were able to call that back pretty quickly. You able to claw it back, but you couldn't find a way past. Why was that? Was it just you couldn't quite get the run off certain corners, or was it just a case of you just biding your time for the last few laps?
I was biding my time, yeah, and then I couldn't get a run, and then I thought I had an opportunity to get a run because he was about to run really wide off the corner. And yeah, I was trying to pick up the throttle to get underneath him, and I think I did touch him a little bit, but he was on the brakes at the apex, and yeah, he went round. I'm not sure exactly. I think I'm looking at it myself. I feel like I'm gonna be travelling to the stewards room over that one, but yeah, I was just trying to get a run up the inside. He was running wide in the corner. That was really going to be my only chance to have a look, so I waited a little bit, and I realised I couldn't wait too much longer because I was burning up my tyres trying to get to him and then try and get past him. And if I burn up my tyres too much, Luke was going to have a go at me. So it's all stuff you have to weigh up. But at the end of the day, we crossed the line in first. So that's, you can't complain about that.
You certainly can't, and it was still fairly, good racing all throughout the race between obviously yourself, Will, and Luke. Last couple of laps though would have seemed like it was pretty tight there. You did have a bit of an advantage with some of the traffic, and you're able to build a few tenth advantage over Luke. But a couple of laps to go there, Luke was able to close up and even sort of get ahead there. What led to obviously Luke being able to get that run, and how the hell did you hold on? After that big slide there at turn 5 on the final lap?
Yeah, well, that was the tyres starting to go, so I knew the tyres were starting to go, and like I apologised to Luke. He went to have a look at me. I wasn't even trying to block into that corner. I was just trying to catch the slide, and then into the hairpin, I went super careful on the brakes and sort of half covered, and he wasn't going to get up there. So I reckon a few corners more, and there was no tyres left. So because I went pretty hard in that lap, and going hard, they barely last 17 laps, the tyres. So yeah, it was good fun though. He definitely put it up to me, and I wasn't letting him have it. I told him that. I was telling him it during the battle, so I wanted to make him earn the win, and couldn't quite get there. So, but awesome racing though. I love racing Luke. He's so fair and so clean of a competitor to race against, and he's a pleasure to race with as well as a teammate. So
Of course, yeah. So we're teammates and won the Enduro Cup, of course. But yeah, once again, congratulations on crossing the line first. We'll see what the stewards have to say about the contact later on. But still, at the moment, race winner of race number 2. Well done, Kurt Stenberg.
no worries, thanks guys. I'll see you at Townsville.
All right. And well, last but certainly not least, the first supercar champion that hasn't or isn't in a Holden Commodore of some sort. Luke Rosella, well done on the championship for starters, but race 2 there, a lot of hard work there.
Yeah, thanks, Lewis. Yeah, that was a pretty action-packed race, or action-packed night. I mean, it was unbelievable. Yeah, me and Stanley were so close on pace. I was probably maybe like half a tenth quicker than him, like overall. And I think Will was also pretty close. So it made it a really entertaining night. And yeah, race 2. Like me and Steve were just having fun. We weren't even thinking about tyres in that first stint. We were just pushing as hard as we could. And I made a mistake coming to turn 4, and yeah, he swept by, and yeah, it's tried so hard to overtake him, but it's just so hard around here to overtake, especially when the pace differential is so close. So yeah, like he said, he definitely made me earn it, and yeah, just couldn't get the job done.
Well, you certainly, or both of you, and Will, all had a fair crack at it. All of you leading at some point of the race. You nailed the start again, but you couldn't quite hold on in that first stint, which once you did lose that track position, you couldn't quite get back again. Is there anything you'd do a little bit differently, particularly, leading up to losing the lead of the race?
Oh, well, as you said, track position's king around here, so I guess you just have to be on your toes. You can't make a mistake around here, or else, yeah, you lose that track position. But I was really happy with our tyre life. Like I said in the first interview, it was pretty much spot on. It was probably the best out of everyone, I believe. We saw that when I closed in on Kurt the last few laps. He was really struggling, and like I said before, I just could not find a way past him. I tried into the hairpin, but I just got a bad exit. He went in front again, and then he made a mistake on the last lap in the chicane, and I saw a gap. But as he said, he was trying to gather it up himself. So closed the door on me, and he got the win. But I mean, I'm just stoked with the championship. It's been an amazing year. First year of SSR, it's been unbelievable. Want to thank Scott Nolan and Brendan Hobson and Pickles as well for giving me the opportunity this year. It's been amazing, and yeah, it's been a pleasure to race everyone else. Everyone's been really fair. It's been great.
Of course, Brenton Hobson, the first champion at AMS Oz / ASR, and of course, also a teammate at SSR. So that's now 2 champions from the SSR stables. But just going back and reflecting on the season, what would be, I guess, probably of the season so far anyway, what would be your, I guess, favourite race of the season? And then what do you think was the round that was the turning point that led you to, I guess, claiming the title this season?
I mean, we had a pretty, I wouldn't say bad start to the season, but we were just lacking that maybe 2 or 3 tenths to the front 3. Will, Kurt, and Cole. But something just clicked at Queensland Raceway. We found something in the setup, and from there it was just unbelievable. I think, but the turning point was definitely, I think, Hidden Valley, because Kurt had he had an absolute shocker that round, and I think it just hurt his momentum a little bit in the coming into the second half of the season. And yeah, just from there, I mean, I think we got 4 wins in a row. It was just unbelievable. I couldn't believe it, and definitely my favourite was Calder. I mean, we had amazing pace around there. Good battle with Kurt. Those last few laps of those races. But yeah, because overall it's just been an amazing year. I never would have believed, quite honestly, I would have, taken the fight to Will and Kurt. I would have been happy with a 3rd or 4th place, but to win the series is it's just unbelievable.
Well, once again, fantastic season from you. Obviously, you showed form at the back half of last year, and you've gone on, continued it on, and won the championship here in 2021. Big question: is it true you're going to TTR? And also, will you be back next season to defend your crown?
I'm not going to TTR. I've got no offers. I don't know what this rumor or hype is about. I don't know what you guys are talking about. But next year I'll be definitely coming back and having the number 1 on the old window. So yeah, I can't wait. It's going to be amazing.
Well, once again, congratulations, and hopefully we'll see you in a few weeks' time to have a bit of fun around the Reed Park circuit at Townsville. Well done.
Thank you, Lewis.
Thanks, Lewis. Been a very interesting night of affairs with regards to the championship. Of course, Luke Rosella, untouchable at the top at the moment. He leaves the round tonight at Pukekohe with a 378-point margin. He came into the night with a 351-point margin, so he's definitely got plenty of wiggle room available from anything that might happen. So it's a fait accompli. He's just got to keep himself out of trouble at the next round at Townsville. And then we'll be presenting him with a championship cup for that one. Tim Redmond, as I said, 378 points in arrears. The situation with third place overall in the championship won't be over. There's 99 points separating Kurt Stenberg, who's overtaken Will Devenish as a result of tonight's proceedings. But of course, we heard from Kurt Stenberg just a few seconds ago that he feels he's going to be off to the stewards' rooms for a discussion with regards to the Will Devenish incident. But we'll wait to see how that plays out the next couple of weeks. But if that is the case, then there's going to be a bit of a change in the points there, and it probably will close up again. Looking a bit further down the field for the rest of the top 10. So Pete Savage, despite missing the round tonight, actually is still entrenched in 5th place, and NZ Snipes has moved ahead of Termo. So that DNF for Termo in race 2 was very costly. It's cost him 6th place in the standings, but there's a lot to play in that as well. The margin is only 13 points, so there's a lot still to play there. Brenton Foley moves up to 8th. Lewis moves down to 9th. And Cam Rutledge is still hanging on in the top 10, but Steve Burko is very much nipping at his heels in 11th place. It's 1,095 points to Rutledge and 1,023 to Steve Burko. So there is a little bit still to play out with that one there. Just to touch on Luke Rosella, I guess he did say that in the beginning of the year they struggled a little bit. He did end up with a podium on debut in the series full-time at Adelaide. And I mean, just to give you an idea, so it was a 3rd and a 6th at Adelaide, a 5th and a 5th at Symmons Plains. He wouldn't be off the podium again after that point, right? So the lowest spot on the grid, on the lowest finishing position he's had all year has been 6th, and that was once at Adelaide. There were 2 5th places at Symmons Plains. The rest of the 15 races that have taken place so far sees 6 wins, including 4 in a row between both Hidden Valley rounds and both Calder Park rounds. There was another one at SMP in race 2 and one at Barbagallo in race 1. 5 second places and 4 third places. So there's 15 total podium finishes out of 18 races. I mean, you can't get any better than that, can you?
You certainly can't. And then you look at the way the field has been as well this year. We've got probably 5, 6, 7 guys out there that can all go out there, and if they all have a sufficient amount of practice and stuff like that, they can all win a race. And he's gone out there and he's taken it up to Kurt Stenberg, which we'd see from time to time with Will last year, but it just wasn't a consistent thing. And not only has he beaten him on pace at times, but he's also done him on strategy. And then there's other races where he just hasn't made the mistakes that other drivers have. So he's, all-round performance all year. What's his lowest finishing position of 6th? I mean, it's if he continues up that trend and, gets a couple more podiums, I mean, his average finishing position is going to be something absurd at the end of the season. And something I don't think that we would have seen in any of the previous Supercars championships so far. So I'm just looking at the moment. His average qualifying position, if this is correct, 3.3, and his average finishing position is 2.4, which unheard of in just about any series. So he's had a fantastic year so far, and I'm sure he'll want to, just see if he can, pick up a win at the final round of the championship, just to put another cherry and a little bit of extra cream and custard on top of what's been a pretty tasty cake so far.
Yeah, spot on. And yeah, he'll be looking to do that in 3 weeks' time. So for all of you watching the live stream tonight, 3 weeks from now is the 3rd of December. That will be the season finale at the Townsville event, so the Reed Park Street Circuit, which has had a fair share of chaos in the past and some interesting races, so please do tune in for that one. That's the last official race broadcast on this channel for the year. In between now and then, there is the GT3 finale, which has been moved back a week. It's not on the 20th of November next week. It is on Saturday the 27th of November. We've pushed that back a week just so we don't have any interference with the real life Supercars broadcast, because there are a few people that like to watch both. So we've moved it back to the 27th, and that is a title decider officially. Don't forget that the two men at the top of the standings are going into the final round tied. That's right, they're going into the final round tied on points. So there's a fair bit still to play out in the last couple of rounds of the season. There's also the Super 2 Championship still to be decided, although Daniel Cox is looking pretty handy for that one. And that finale will be on the Loose Sim Network channel on Friday, the 26th of November. And that's also from the Reed Park Street Circuit in Townsville. Well, with that, ladies and gentlemen, tonight we crowned a new champion, the 4th champion in the 4-year history of the ASR Supercars Championship. So thank you very much for watching, everybody. Until next time, please drive safely and see you in a couple of weeks. Bye for now.